Is anybody here? Crunch. We are alive. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Better to be live than alive. Just a moment. Un momentito. Por favor. Señoritas. Señoritas. Señoras. Alright. So, I feel like we're missing something there. I don't like the blue. I don't like blue. Something is completely missing. What is going on? Whoa. Feels like something's missing, but you just can't see the blue. Blue doesn't work. Alright. Blue is not going to work. Yellow. Back to yellow. And we hear you. We hear you. Hello. Chainsaw for cheaters. Mr. Chainsaw the Cheaters. Nice. $30. We're up to $156.09. Mr. Chainsaw the Cheaters. This is a tournament fund for playing, hopefully at least one tournament in August. And right now that looks like later August, mid-later August, around August 20th. So, saving my money for one solid tournament in the late summer. Mr. Chainsaw the Cheaters. We should make them all go, work in the Trump administration. And we're live. All right. We are live. Analysis. Lessons. Donate. All right, guys. Often I'm a little bit late on Thursday. Sorry about that. I have a lesson right up until our start time. And then I got to grab an apple in this case and use the restroom. So, all right, we've got a game from Rudolph Spielman, from Mr. Chainsaw, Asterbait, the disaster of the week, Pavel Nefedov against Alan Miralles, Sun Prism. That was submitted by Sun Prism? No, that must have been submitted by Morales. That's weird. Maybe it was submitted by Sun Prism. Did you submit a loss? No, I can't remember. Maybe it was Morales. Did you both submit games? Maybe I didn't get one from Sun Prism. Drown the Clown submitted a game. Mule Skinner submitted a game. And then we've got Move 11 with the Grandmaster submission. Vladimir Kovalev against Pragnanatha. So that's 7. I'm good. I got my coffee. I'm awake. I had half the coffee already, so we are awake. No excuses about not being awake like I normally do. All right, let's start with the warm up with Astrobate's game, guys. Let's test the volume out here with a little donation. Mr. Chainsaw, the cheaters. Can someone else follow or donate? Because I want to see how my volume is. Can I test it somehow? Mute. Yeah, I don't want to mute event sounds. I want to test event sounds. Test. No. All right. Anyway, we'll know when it works or it doesn't work. All right. Astrobate is white. This is against Firulyuk. Sounds kind of Slavic. Okay. Astrobate is white. It's knight f3. We're playing white. Knight f3, d5. Astrobate played a game he showed me this week with d4. Astrobate playing the white side of the queen's gambit. But instead now we see b3. Don't fear the c5, Astrobate. Welcome it. Welcome the c5. Don't fear it. You're playing a hyper-modern type of opening. And I think instead of being worried about c5, we should kind of hope for it, really. Alright. So anyway, black plays knight f6, not committing. Not committing to like c5 or c6. Oftentimes that's two common setups you'll see. White plays bishop b2, and then again, it's usually g6, e6, c6, or c5. Sometimes bishop out. But what does he do? He does knight c6. So we've seen this a lot. We've seen this move a lot, and the problem for black is that, you know, he's not ready to play e5, and at the same time, he's interfering with his ability to move his c-pawn. So now it becomes kind of problematic. Like, he can't advance either one of those pawns. Maybe his best option is actually to play g6 next. Tell me you didn't play a3 here. Okay, you didn't play a3 yet. That would be too slow. You know, e3 is definitely the best move. Other alternatives could be like d4, some g3, double fianchetto. If c4, you're really asking for it, but you could try the rope-a-dope, c4, d4, b4. There's a game here. That's got to be Hungarian from... probably a Hungarian from Serbia. I don't know. Tihomir. Maybe Tihomir is not Hungarian. Maybe it's Slavic. I'm not sure. But, alright. E3. Good move. Now, I think the best here is G6 at this point for black, probably. Lukas Yarmula. Don't like this knight on C6, but still, you know, G6 would keep his bishop open. Alright, so he plays bishop f5. This move has very little to do with knight c6, I think. You know, you may see a connection with the knight b4, but realistically, what's the problem here? He's not really threatening knight b4. Because of the vulnerability of his bishop on f5. So even if you were to play the most, I don't know, irrelevant move ever, like h3, this still isn't a good move. I think ultimately because white could play knight to d4 and defend c2 and attack f5. So I'm expecting Astrobate to actually play a3. That's typically what he would have done, what you would have done in the past. Are we live? We are live. Right. Let me fix this here. We are live. What's up, guys? This streamer sucks. So I'm glad, you know, you're improving Astrobate. You're not wasting time with a silly a3 move that's unnecessary. Welcome everybody else. So Antipov, Hannes Stephenson, and one other random player. We have a mix of moves. Antipov losing with bishop e2 here. That's sort of ridiculous, but d4 I'm also not in love with. Well, that's a very old game. Wow, Stephenson against Robert Harderson from 1988. My God. Hannes was 2395. He's the same age as me. And he was 2395 in 88. That's fucking very impressive. You know, I was 16 in 1988, and Hannes was approximately the same age. So to be 2395 in those days when you're 16, no wonder he became a grandmaster. All right. So Icelandic Junior Championship, 1988. Anyway, I don't really love d4. It's a fine move, but it also blocks our bishop. So I like your move, man. Bishop e5. That's what Stephenson played. It makes sense. It's dynamic. You know, Antipov's move is just kind of lazy. Bishop e2. And the d4 move blocks the bishop on b2. I like this move the best of the three options. And Harderson played a6, you know, trying to break the pin. I think black already has like a slightly dubious position. Doesn't really have a good move. I wonder if there's even a case. I mean, would there be a case for like bishop d7 being like, oh, I screwed up? Maybe I should go back. So e6, now it's pin sanity. Pin sanity, Asterbate. But which way to go? Here or here? This is pin sanity. You know, if you throw in knight d4, you would add the additional concept of hacking his London bishop on f5, which isn't anything major, but still might not be bad. So, say here, you could shred his pawn structure pretty good. I like this. Takes, 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 and takes. Now, I'm sorry, I don't really trust black's pawn structure. So I think it's a tough call. And black is better. 95, not in practice. Maybe Stockfish could think that. I don't know. Not if you're a human. But, you know, what I'm saying is, like, you could do this way. And this is an idea, you know? All right. We're doubling down on the diagonal here. The only problem is that if we play queen d6, we can't go bishop a3 because our guy drops on e5. So, okay, I guess this is the big question then. What would you have done, you know, had black played queen d6? The only way he could defend. And the answer is, well, there's more than one answer, okay? You could calmly castle, and then just go for the damage to the pawn structure with something like bishop takes, pawn takes. And we have a solid, very solid structure with the Nimzo doubled pawns and no bad pieces. Or you could play the very Nimzovichian move f4, which I know you've been playing lately, Asterbate. But the nice thing about f4 is that you got the threat of bishop a3 in your back pocket. So if he tries to break the pin now with like that or something, you're actually winning on the spot with bishop a3. So yeah, on f4, let's say knight d7. Well, no more Mr. Queen or Mrs. Queen or Mrs. Claus. Yeah, so f4 looks pretty strong. But black didn't mess around there. Okay, so after knight e5, they go knight e7. This just loses a pawn. He's just losing a pawn. The one good thing about black's position is maybe the possibility of bringing the queen out here to g5. So I would take with a knight, and that's what you did. You took, take with the bishop on c6 with tempo. And then, what's black going to do? Boom, boom, boom. If queen g5, well, he can't. So rook b8. And now what? What's the best move for white? I would vote for castling kingside, bro. I think this is the move. The castle kingside. Yes, black could try something aggressive. I don't want to take this pawn necessarily, but you're not obligated to do that. Just make sensible moves. Your bishop can hang out, or you can trade it. Either way, either take or bring it back to a4. So I think our volume's down. Can't tell if the volume's up or the volume's down. Agnes Karadjuski just subscribed. I can check. Wait. Hey. Why it doesn't show when I change the volume on the speaker. It's weird. Alright. So Asper, you got options here. Agnes Karadjuski, thank you for this subscription. It's 46 months. Not very long. There's only 1,390 more days of Trump being president or something like that. How many months of Trump being president do you have to subscribe for before it's over? G4, dude. Alright. Yeah, well, anyway, he played G4. This is very, very dangerous, man. It's very dangerous. I love it. No. If you weren't up a clear pawn, maybe, but your position is almost too good to gamble like this. You just won a bunch of money in the casino. You're up $7,000, and you're going to go back to the tables and keep gambling. I think you pocket the money and you go home. You're just being reckless here with G4. Now, he needs to think about the square, because bishop e4 is interesting. Yeah. See, this is a bit of a problem now. The queen access to h4. I get it. If he plays bishop g6, you can try h4. Even there, it's not so clear, though. Black has h5. If you're not overrunning him completely, and the bishop is a pretty freaking strong piece, and I think you have to push. So I don't like g4. Just play normally. g4 is bad. Bishop e4. And now if rook g1, problem is this again. And it's really getting worse all the time now because you got a problem with your h2. But in the game, after f3, he's got queen h4 check here as well. So this is not the best. Luckily, you have king e2, bishop g6, and something like... I think you should try to offer a trade of queens at some point, coming over here. You have to watch your pawn on c2. So maybe just d3, queen h3, queen f1, rook f1, for example, rook b6, bishop takes, check, king takes, and you're up a pawn in an endgame with good chances to win. But I still think h5 for black, and he'll have some chances to defend. You never should have played g4. Bishop g6 is passive. h4. Okay, now he has to play h5. h6 is kind of too passive. g5. Bishop d6. Okay. And now g7 is hanging. I think you might want to take that. because anybody? Why do we want to take on g7? I said not being greedy before, but I think at this point, if you don't take the g7 pawn, he can castle into what I think is kind of relative long-term safety. And if you do take the pawn on g7, that's just not going to happen. So it looks like at this point, you really should take this pawn. No, it's not about the pawn. It's about the fact that he'll never be able to castle one way or the other. So here, here, and then he castles. And now how are we going to attack his king there? Very hard to do, because the light squares, we can't break through those light squares. So Asterbate plays c4. Attacking the enemy center while not really developing his pieces. D takes c4. Now, you sacrifice the pawn. Oof. He also has access to this. This c4 is a really bad move. Damn, bro. Really bad move. He also has knight c5, leaving your bishop out to dry. So now that he's gotten out of the pin, I think you should take. Your bishop is just hanging out there. Asterbate, you need to consolidate. Bishop takes, queen takes, he's coming down here. You better be careful. You're going to need to be very, very careful. Queen d7, d3, or maybe knight to c3, I don't know. So after castle c4, very bad move. Now you're clearly in danger. Takes, you lost the pawn. Knight c3, knight c5. Oh, you missed it. Knight c5 might be stronger than knight c3. I'm not sure. Knight e5, I mean, might be stronger than knight c5. They're both very strong. And now here. And that's the only good thing about, the c4, that you got a little bit of control of the light squares, but it looks bad. So he takes, check, wins a piece with knight takes b2, king e2, knight takes b2. This is a disaster, obviously. But Asterbate has like one trick, it feels like, He's got one big trick with the knight f6 check. So you play queen c2, opponent plays this, and now I really don't get what's happening next. This is the position where you have to clear this line. I don't understand your next move. So maybe you don't have time. Maybe you go knight f6 check first. Okay. Knight f6 check first. Okay. That's interesting. Knight f6 check first. And black must consider, of course, the option of playing king h8. But then pawn takes pawn. And then we're going to come in through here. So he might as well take it. He takes it. You take with check. He moves his king to h8. Now the question is, do we have a winning attack with that G file? Rook G5. Rook G5. Can he defend by bringing his knight back to E5 and knight G6, for example? So this is the scariest move for black. You played queen takes c4, which is a move. This is obviously also a move. F4 is better. F4 where? On move 1? Yeah, I mean, this is close to working. I'm figuring pawn takes, knight b4. That's a little annoying. But still, it's hard for black to organize. I mean, he has no space. Even queen here. Maybe e5. I mean, it's almost impossible to evaluate what's happening here. Black is on the verge of getting mated. I mean, rook g5 and rook over. He's hanging on by like a microscopic thread. Not even. You know, he's actually lost. So after knight f6 check, dude might be kind of screwed here. He should have tried king h8, but then pawn takes pawn. He's obligated to do this anyway. We would have ended up in the same situation anyway. So I don't know, man. Is this a good move, queen takes c4? Maybe you have an idea. So if knight e5, yeah, you have a nice move here. You have queen f4. And that's what happened in the game. So I'm just afraid this is maybe not enough. You're still going to be down a piece. Wow. Yeah. Okay, okay. So rook b4, queen d3. And if, for example, rook takes h4, this is winning. But problem is he has this. And it's unclear what the hell is going on. You know, I don't think we want to let him get that rook down before we have time to play rook g5. So queen takes c4 may not be bad. I think it is. See, this way, well, this way maybe it isn't so clear either, right? He can take on f6. Still, if he takes on f6, you have rook g5. So I think that should be your focus. Is f4 better than c4? Back in the middle game? No. I don't know. I doubt it. Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, they're both weakening. Maybe. I don't really like letting him keep his knight on the board. I mean, I would play bishop takes knight, honestly. And after queen takes, obviously I see that this is a problem, but maybe we can manage it. I don't really know what to do. d3, e5, and we can try to use our queen. We might have to play rather defensively. For example, like here, check. Who knows? I mean, even king f1 or something. King d1. Well, you're up a pawn, though. You know, I don't really see it. Got all 8 pawns. They're all one island. It's not easy for black to break it down. Probably black has compensation. Yeah. Black's a tiny bit better there. To answer your question, though, the computer likes f4 better than c4. I mean, c4 dramatically blows up our d3 square. So I think shocky that pretty much almost anything is better than c4. But I will say that I admired the way that Acerbate attempted to undermine black's light squares, because it looked basically impossible. However, of course, black could have played better, like knight e5. I mean, what are you going to do against that? You probably have to take it. And then it's an ugly position. We can probably play this. Okay, either way, white has a very strange position. D takes c4 is not the best move. Here, here, here. And then takes, knight check here, king e2, knight b2, queen c2. And then it's a question here. The knight f6, okay. Check, takes, and then the question is here. Maybe you have to play rook g5 immediately. Seriously, how does black defend after this? Because this thing over here is gonna happen, I guess. Eventually, you're gonna undermine that knight on d3. But this is more immediate. We're threatening rook over, and rook takes h5. He has to take time to take this pawn. Yeah, black is lost, man. Looks like he's just lost. So queen takes c4 is a mistake. But after this, he's back to Lostville again. In one move. So black has to try rook b4, right? Wow, even knight f4 check is enough. Boom. That's not going to save us in the other line, though. Oh my god, rook g5 isn't winning. Can you guys believe this? Rook g5 isn't winning for white. Rook g5? You're kidding me. King h7? He has rook b5? What? Wow, that's insane. Black has rook b5, sacking a rook to break the attack. After this. That holds. But the computer is claiming that black is winning after king h7, which I don't understand. Check. Holy shit. He walks out through the back exit with king f6. Damn. This is one of Astorbay's more interesting submissions. So this is probably the best move, and it's still not enough. After this, it's hard to see this defense, though. I mean, walking into the diagonal, and then what now? B takes c4. If you trade queens, it's a bishop up position. It's like rook g1 or something. King h6. Okay, it's not an easy win, but we can all see that black is up a piece here. It takes a really monstrously good defender to win the position. Queen takes c4 here. Queen f4, it looks bad now. But black still has a move, doesn't he? Knight g4. Does he find it? No. Astorby, if you're only down one piece instead of two, it wouldn't be a problem. But you're down two. Looks like after knight g4, you're still toast. Yeah, nothing's gonna work here. Queen g5, queen f6, queen takes h5 check. We're just lost, probably. So he plays this and just gets mated. Boom. Alright. Lucky shot, Astorby. Your opponent was not known for his defensive skills. Alright, guys. It's up to Chainsaw Man. Rudolph Spielman against David Przebyorka. Let's see what other games we've got. This is Dr. Chainsaw. Mr. Slow Saw. Rudolph Spielman, Przebyorka. I like to say that. All right. Astorby is done. We've got Nefedov, Sung Prism, or Morales, Drown the Clown, Mule Skinner, and Move 11. All right. So Przebyorka was born 22nd December 1880. He's a little more than 100 years older than me. After he died, and he died after January 1940 in Palmyra. Sounds like Palmyra. He was a Polish chess master, chess patron, and very important composer. Now, I have a question. Chess composer or normal composer? Now, given the way that it's written, I'm assuming that Mr. Slow, copied this from somewhere, but I'm assuming the way it's written, That's chess composer. Sorry, my eyes hurt. I love that. No, you. Was he a chess composer or composer of music? It's kind of like, you know, he was a Polish chess master, a chess patron. So it specifies Polish chess master, chess patron, but then it doesn't specify, and very important, chess composer. If you're an important composer, you're probably not a chess composer. Chess composers are important. He was a round, chubby man with severe impairment of hearing. Problems. Okay, so he was a problemist. Okay. So he was a well-known chess problemist or composer. Not a music composer. Alright, you never know. Don't you love it when people come to my stream and they ask these, like, retarded questions? What's your rating? What are we, like, 5 years old here? Rating doesn't matter. Get with the program, man. Tilder. Alright. So this is Rudolf Spielman. This is Mr. Slow's submission. Mr. Slow. He won the first Polish championship. Alright. So e4, we're white. Polish pronunciations are really hard. Perzapurka. E4, E5. Of course, when was this game played? In Nuremberg. First, let's see. I don't have a year on this game. But maybe it's in there. I don't have a year, do you? So this was 15th German Chess Congress. Bishop c4, bishop c5. So now white has sometimes in the bishop's opening you see like queen g4. In Vienna, right? As it turned out, well, I know a good Polish butcher. I also butcher names. Nefedov is here, and your game is next. Alright, so queen g4 in this position was played by Alexander Zubarev. Should I say the Polish opponent's name? Nefedov, or we'll spare everyone that? Queen g4 is strangely not played much. It may be one of those weird coincidences. It's almost inexplicable, though. I mean, you've got like 170 games here, and only one person played queen g4. It's completely playable. Okay, honestly, like, bishop c5 is pretty rare. You could also play queen h5. That's been played twice. These are non-principled moves. Alright, d3, d6, copycat syndrome. Now white could play f4. Nefedov always focusing on the important stuff here. We would like to be the first one to land the f4. If you play f4, there's always like bishop takes g1. I would assume this is a playable move, you know. Bishop takes g1, rook takes g1, you know, the old queen check. G3, take the pawn. And then king King f1 not flying. So you got to play bishop e3. But maybe this isn't so inspiring for white. So, alright, f4 is a little risky. White plays instead knight c3. And I mean, Spielman was a big fan of the Vienna game anyway. So he's basically transposing to more typical Vienna game after knight c3. Nothing wrong with that. And I don't think we're going to see black playing f5 as though white could try, in the last move. Though it's conceivable. It's conceivable black could play f5 if he were a real wild man. No, I think it's best probably not to do that without the bishop on f8. I don't know. So now, what? Knight c6. And that's a very creative, symmetrical position. Now, white plays knight a4. And, this is one of those moves that you got to be like, it's kind of a bummer. You're like, I'm going to trade my knight for that bishop. And it's going to take me a long time to kind of build up and attack after that. I don't think that knight a4 is the only way for white to play this kind of position, is what I'm saying. So we're losing time to hunt down the dark square bishop, and then it's gonna we're gonna have to try to gain an advantage slowly with that dark square bishop. Kind of positional game, long term, not necessarily sharp style game. So I mean, it's not like a romantic move. Of course, f4 is a move. Yeah. So f4 is a much more romantic try. You can see bishop takes g1, rook takes g1, queen h4 check, g3. The problem is our bishop is out here. And so the light squares, if we play g3, the light squares would be weakened. So it makes sense to me to play king f1. If he wants to take that pawn, he can be our guest. Looks like this. Paul Backwinkle. Man. So, yeah, it's possible to play f4. What's the evaluation here? -1. Well, we're sacrificing a pawn. This is a truly romantic style of game. It might be better to go to d2 to guard this pawn. Objectively, it may be that this is white's best move. Just playing a form of quieter game. This would be a 4 knights. Now black can play knight a5. Okay, whatever. So this is a standard idea, but it's just that it takes time. Now bishop b6, knight b6, a b6. And so the position is very much based on white hoping that this dark square bishop will be some kind of advantage. Knight a4, bishop g4 is always bad. Oh, bishop e4 check. Yeah, there's weird moves like that. This sort of weird moves exist. If bishop e4 check, we just go here. Black plays bishop a5. We play b4. And then black plays bishop b6. It's actually surprising that there's 0 games where that's been played. No, there's weird stuff. Is there another option, really? You have to watch queen b3, Shaki, I guess. So c3, bishop a5. There's this. I guess, you need to be like an authority on these types of positions. This sort of thing isn't going to work. So b4, bishop b6. One could make the argument that white has weakened the queen side without a really, getting a lot of benefit out of it. So after this, I mean, it's just the same position. Just I move my pawns up, but what real benefit do I derive by having those pawns like moved up like that necessarily? You could say that my a pawn is maybe more backward on the a file. Stockfish can sit there and claim that white has an advantage all day long, but I don't think it's so easy to play this type of position. And white, white might be a little bit better, but black has like no weaknesses, and I think black's position is very compact. So it's not so easy for the two bishops to like. Look, even black can play this. This is another possibility. Allowing this capture on c5, a totally other valid way for black to play. Give up the dark square bishop. Same concept, just different structure. Now, instead of playing with the double pawns in the open a file, we have the open d file and double pawns here. Nikola Mitkov coming to Shovkov. When Mitkov comes to Shovkov, alright, so knight a4, bishop b6, here, and now what? a3, I mean, there's a pathetic move, right? But if you don't play a3, black can do the same thing again. So a3 is the main move. There's f4, there's c3, which is really insipid looking, and there's knight e2. And the thing is, if you play, say, a3, I mean, can't black play this at some point? Just like trading your light square bishop off? What do I do there? Yeah, I mean, if you look at Stockfish, like, white has almost no advantage. There probably are, like, a lot of older games that have been played. They're just not showing up here because there's no games like pre-1960 in the lichess Opening Explorer, sadly. a3 looks very slow. Okay, f4. But now the million-dollar question. What happens if black copycats, right, with knight a5? So this is Mitkov again. Oh, Mitkov 1990. So Mitkov 1990, he's also the same age as me. Maybe a couple years older. Not sure. He was 23, 35. We were like the same. Yeah, I was a little lower rated. I wasn't 23, 30 till 1990, 92, 91. He beat me to 23, 30. But, yeah, knight a5 makes sense. This is definitely better. Alright, in the game, though, nothing wrong with this. Or is there? Maybe knight f6 is too stereotyped. You could also put the knight on e7. Kind of against bishop g5. So now black plays this. Robert Hess, the mysterious Robert Hess, keeps coming up. Okay, knight f3, bishop g4. Yeah, the first rule of double king pawn openings is that bishop g4 is always bad. But, yeah, this is a very artificial solution for black, effectively. Shabalov, Martin, Olesen. I think I was at that tournament, 1994. Maybe not. I think so. April 1994. Sounds familiar. I lost to Shabalov in the last round. playing for first place. I was a half point ahead of him. That was one of my best tournaments. Can you guys see those games in the list there on the screen? Yeah. Buccaneer Bill. The days of Buccaneer Bill. So Midkov just keeps showing up. He's like Mr. Vienna game. I did not know that. Anyway, this is almost never a good move for black. The only thing is, like, there could be some threats of knight d4. And does white have time to play something like c3? That's really the question, isn't it? I did have something like this against Morales a couple weeks ago in my simul. So c3 is the main move. That's what happened in the game. And so now it's like, okay, what do you have for the two bishops here with black? Sometimes it's better to just have two knights versus two bishops than, like, you know, bishop and knight versus two bishops. But in a vacuum, I mean, the two bishops are stronger than two knights in most cases. So what's going to happen here? Most people castled, or they played e takes f4, surrendering their strong point, and after bishop takes f4, there's knight h5. And then what? Bishop e3, knight e5, bishop b3, for example. Bishop takes f3, g takes f. This is what I'm talking about. Two knights versus two bishops. Queen h4 check. Which is better, the two knights or the two bishops? Well, if you're Chigorin, you like the two knights. This game is like a good kind of example. What might happen. Alright, so c3 castles is the main move. And then white castles. And then e takes f4, bishop takes f4. This seems to be the main line. Then knight h5, and then bishop e3. Then knight e5. Oh my god. There's a queen sacrifice. Mitkov Sharif, 1993. Knight takes e5, bishop takes d1, knight takes f7. It's a draw. Apparently white is much better here. It's a very strong queen sacrifice. And white only won 1 out of 4 games from that position. Rob Zombie was in some article I saw yesterday. Alright, so... But anyways, that seems to be the main line. Instead, black in the game played the crazy move, d5. So this is Todorovich Blagievich, 2001. So this is interesting. Like, black's king is still in the center, but so is white's. White has the bishop pair, but it's still early, and, you know, white's not that fully developed here. And black actually has 3 pieces out, you know. The one game of this happened in 01 in Serbia. 2 grandmasters from Serbia. E takes d5. White went on to win. How does this work exactly? E takes d5, knight takes d5, h3. So they're exactly repeating what happened in this game. I'm not answering general questions here. This is analysis stream. We're going over games. Okay. h3, bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, knight takes f4, bishop takes f4, e takes f4, and so What is this? What is that? We got a notification. Chess girl 1 has followed. Yeah, right. Okay. He takes f4. Castle long here. Well, I mean, castling long here is an option. The a file's open. The bishop's protecting a2. You would castle long here, like now, on this move, rather than getting your pawn back. Okay, I mean, I think this position is... There are a couple different ways of looking at this thing. I mean, you've got strategic elements of it, and you've got possible tactical ideas. But there's a lot of exchanges. Honestly, it's kind of feeling like it's going to be an endgame, kind of a technical endgame. I've got a bishop versus knight, and a very strong center. So the pawn goes to d4. White has a huge advantage in the center. It looks very, very good. If I had the pawn on d4 already, I would say white undoubtedly has an advantage, but I think we have an advantage without it. As far as castling queenside, it's a little risky with the rook on the a file, and the possibility is that like knight a5 will like knock that bishop off the diagonal anyway. So I think here white ought to just take the pawn, and black will likely castle kingside, and we should probably do the same. Problem is, if we take the pawn and black castles kingside, and we do the same, yeah, we're attacking f7 there. This is actually a transition to exactly what happened in Todorovic's game. The point is, if white gets in d4, I think that white has a serious advantage. Otherwise, black could play like knight a5 and maybe like trap our bishop or something. But d4 is going to be really a big problem. The thing about queen f4, it also attacks f7. Maybe black has a check on e7. Now, someone suggested, Grob Zombie suggested castling queenside. Most likely that's just going to result in black castling. It's going to transpose anyway, because white's going to need to take this pawn. But my problem with this whole line is that, boom, knight a5, and now you've lost a lot of your advantage. The bishop is gone. Queen e4. No, Turkey Farm. You can't do that. Your whole position is based on the pawn structure. So after queen takes, queen e4 check, queen e4, black's fine. You can't let this happen to your pawn structure. I think that's a huge devaluation of white's position. Maybe white's still a little better, but you're talking about giving the guy like a monster outpost for his knight on e5. We need the good pawn structure. So I think it's an interesting question here. Why? Probably white didn't take the pawn because of queen e7 check. Yeah, that's kind of an issue. No, that looks serious. Yeah. Like you said, that may be your best move here. I don't know. I mean, king f2 is possible. It's not so stupid. But now here, yeah. You could do this, possibly. But I don't like it. I don't like our king. Under the circumstances, you're probably right. Like, maybe we do have to do that. But I don't want this position. I don't want to do that. It's no good. Then we're not going to do it. Another move that deserves consideration is d4. Obviously, he could defend the pawn with g5, but that's extremely weakening. As I said, the bigger threat is probably this. There's also a small chance that black has some tricks like there. No, this type of thing, like here. But I think that black's king is not safe. Alright, so he castles kingside. white castles kingside. Now, can black try to keep that pawn? Not really. Okay, so he has to get out. So castles is good. Castles is good. He takes the pawn, and now the problem is f7 is hit 3 times. Although capturing it would put white in a pin. Black wants to do is knight a5. But this looks like, you know, no way. So you can't. So Blagojevich played queen d7 and went on to lose, which is exactly the same move as this game. Does black have another option here? Well, I think that black is pretty much like positionally in trouble. He just doesn't have a good solution. You know, the idea would be maybe knight d8, but now white is clearly better. Like once you get this in, that's it. You know, now it's very obvious what's going on here. This 4-on-3 majority on the queen side is just untouchable. Black's majority is not something like you can advance. You know, so white's just gonna push black for like 100 moves now. Black's totally gonna get tortured now. It's just absolute torture. No active counterplay. What are you gonna do? You know, put your knight on g6. I mean, that sucks. Knight d8 sucks even worse. I think the only possibility could be to like put the knight on d5 maybe. But that's going to take a number of moves. So he plays here, and now white piles up on the f file, rook f3, and now rook e7. So Blagojevich here made a defensive move, knight d8, which is very passive. I like the other guy's move better, but apparently that loses a pawn. Okay, never mind. Teddy loses a pawn. So you have to play either knight d8 or rook e7. Let's trust Pozorpica. Rook e7. There goes our knight e7, knight d5 plan. But at least he can double on the e-file, maybe. This is not good, dude. It's not like, you know, white's just winning positionally and clearly better in the endgame. He's playing for attack, too. Rook g3. Oh, my God. It's possible that rook takes g7 might even be a threat. There's also things like queen h6, inducing g6, and then just mating on h7. Black played g6. Okay, this is not a move that I want to play. So, what's up? Is he lost if he plays king h8? Rook g7, king g7, check, here. Are we just lost? Where do you want to lift? Not f5. So f4, f3. f4. Threatening rook g4. Oh, there's also bishop d3. But this looks very hard to answer. You're going to have to sacrifice your queen. What was that? I have a feeling it's the same guy. What's your rating? 1400. Do you still teach chess? Will you play a game with me? This looks crushing. He's got to sack his queen. Yeah. Is there a better move? Wow, rook f5 is better. That's funny. You'd think like 96 was holding. Oh no, of course it's not. Oh no, it's not holding. We have check here. So rook f5 was killer. Okay. Yeah, so you can't defend. Rook takes g7 just wins. So he can't play king h8. Oh my god. What about h6? That doesn't help. This has got to be the guy from the chat. Bro, you're annoying me. So, right. Yeah, Antonio, happy ending? Yeah, this is like the game where I played bishop g4 and knight d4 against you 2 weeks ago. That kind of thing. If black has to play this, he's clearly, like, screwed. Now the dark squares are all weak. Yeah, there's no defense. Queen h6. So we're threatening rook f4. We're threatening rook f4, possibly rook f6. It's horrible, man. Maybe we could sack a bishop now. I'd like to play rook f4 and just ignore him. But, or rook f5 for that matter. The problem is he can take this. And then you have the lateral defense. He has lateral defense at f6. So that's not going to fly, is it? Rook f4. Here, queen c6, rook f4, queen c4, rook h4, f6, rook takes g6 check, takes, check, king here, and he gets away. I've seen enough. All right, he's getting away. So you got to save the bishop, bishop e3. This is really screwed. His king has only h8. Goes here. Which makes f7 even weaker. His only hope is to trade pieces with like rook e1. So now white plays rook f4. Notice how g2 is protected in case of like rook down. So black finds a move now. I have a bad feeling it's not going to be enough. So now f7 is super weak. And we have combos on the g6 square. Double sacrifices. Okay, the queen is protecting here. The queen is protecting g6. So that's not going to work. There are sacks on f7. Doesn't seem to work. What is the answer? Oh, we do a double sacrifice? No, doesn't work. I don't know, guys. I don't see it. Damn, this works for him. No way. Bishop takes f7 check. Knight takes. Oh, no. And then another sack? No way. King takes. Queen h7 check. You're down a rook. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is like playing Morales. So all roads are death. This way you lose a queen while probably getting mated. This way you lose a queen by probably getting mated. And the other way you just like get mated immediately with rook f3. Yeah. That's brutal. I never would have seen bishop f7 in a blitz game. I don't know. Maybe on a good day I would have seen it. It's a whole rook sack. Boom, boom, boom. And then just the pawn, second pawn. It's kind of a freak position. If black's queen were on a different square, he might be able to get away here. I mean, he has to play this, right? This is the only move. Realistically. Check. And then he has to go up. Is this a mate? Or are we just taking the queen? I kind of doubt there's a mate here. There's no mate. So he could have played on, but it's just like these two pawns are pretty deadly. And white can just protect g2 and just push his h-pawn down the board and ignore black. That's all he has to do. It's very easy. Alright, that was a great game. Great attacking game. Courtesy of Mr. Slow. I'm impressed. But it was really, a very positional opening. It's funny, though, that there was a Serbian Grandmaster game, Todorovic and Blagojevic from 2001 or whatever. And they played the exact same position up until, move, 22? All right, Nefedov is here. I heard Nefedov is in the house. Nefedov played a game. This is Stafford Chess Club. 24-25. North Staffs and District Chess Association. Damn, that sounds serious. Versus Alsager, and I know I'm mispronouncing this. I can't speak English, Nefedov. I can't pronounce English words either. Ukrainian, Russian, Polish, and even British English. Forget it, man. I can't pronounce. What is it? All right. So, Pavel N. versus Alan Thomason. Thomason's English Muffins. So now, black played d6, and Nefedov's got to be thinking, oh man, he saw Sladgy's videos on the Kraken. Oh no. He's gonna play the Kraken. So Nefedov has played different stuff. When I played the Pirates, lately we saw the h3 game. Is this the right game, Nefedov? It better be. Knight f6, knight c3. However, my opponent has not seen my work on the Kraken or accelerated Kraken. The Kraken exclamation point. Black playing knight b7. I don't know what they call this. If you play e5, it'll transpose to a Hanem variation of the Philidor. But Nefedov did what I've done, sometimes is playing f4 to get into an independent setup. However, objectively, I would expect Nefedov to be more of a traditionalist, and play like knight f3. We've got to watch out for the so-called black lion or lion's jaw or whatever the hell it is. They're going to do e5, h6, g5, bishop e7, knight f8, all that stuff. Well, maybe one of the advantages... Oh, you're saying they play g4 here anyway. Uh-huh. Well, in the normal Hanem, that's an idea, obviously. Yeah, maybe the best way for black to play the Philidor is just do it this way. But here, another interesting move for white is knight e2. I like this. We can play f3. We can play like h3. We can play g3. It doesn't put us in a traditional situation where we're putting our knight in f3, and they can automatically do that like lion's jaw thing or whatever it is. I can't remember the boar's head, lion's jaw. What's it called? The black lion? Black lion. I'm thinking of some pub where Nefedov drinks brown beers. The boar's head or something. F4. All right. Now black's supposed to play e5. He does. So now we're supposed to play knight f3, and you do. And now black's supposed to take on d4 and play c6. And I had this with... so this is important. I had this with Aldisto a couple of times. He hasn't been in our Tuesday tournaments for a while. But he was playing the Philidor, and I came to realize that this line is a little bit sharp. They take on d4, and if you take with the queen, which is the most efficient, black now has the c6, and they're going to play for d5. And white might be better, but it's sharp. So you got to kind of know what you're doing. I had some crazy games where, like, black played d5 and I played e5. I guess this is good for white. I think I played this, and then they went here, and I went e5, and then you had, like, here, bishop g1. I definitely had this against Aldisto. But what concerned me was that I was just playing on, on common sense. I never really studied this, per se. It looks like this move now. Black has a very strong pawn on d5. So Christian Bauer. This goes back to Christian Bauer 1996 games. You guys know Christian Bauer did write a book on the Philidor at some point, I believe. Definitely not a recent thing. He also did I'm pretty sure he did a Philidor book. French players have a special soft spot for the Philidor. But queen takes d4, and black plays bishop e7. But this is a problem, though. If black doesn't do that active defense with c6 and d5, is he going to end up just having, like, not enough counterplay? But maybe the bigger question from my perspective here is, like, what are we doing with white? Are we castling kingside or queenside after bishop e7? And, like, one last thing on Turkey Farm, on the Turkey Farm theme, it looks like a bunch of people have tried to blast black here, like directly refuting them with e5. But another question, Mark Ritter beat Konstantin Doljicer in 1991. Ritter is, he was the quintessential, like, Philidor player. The Long Island Philidor master. I never played him. But what about g4? I mean, is that insane? Like, knight takes g4, queen takes g7. I'm gonna guess that that's not good for somebody. I mean, on g4, what would black do? Wow. So this is really wild. This has never been played. Black has d5 only move. The answer to a flank attack is a strike in the center. That's a lot like my Philidor gambit, Some of you might not know the line that I play. After this, then we go g4. And it turns out that d5 is maybe black's best answer there as well. So you answer a sack with a pawn sack with a pawn sack. That's totally unexplored. But anyway, all right. So we're just thinking of ways to blow black away here. G4 is always on my mind. Anyway, my money on my mind. What would suit dog play? So e5, Nefedov goes right for it, the jugular. So here d5 is not an option. So Eldar Hassanov, there's Jürgen Brush-Kern, couldn't win in 2004. Doljicer lost to Mark Ritter with white. Ritter is definitely a stronger player, but that was 1991. although he was kind of a rabbit basher. E5, D takes E5, F takes E5, Bishop C5. Oh my god. Some people play Queen H4. The master of centralization. You know what's funny? No one played Queen F4. They did. Queen F4, definitely. I like Nefedov's move. Nefedov's learning from the computer. How about Queen C4? So these are the corner squares. Now, if F4 is not good, then C4 maybe. The thing about F4, though, we're really reinforcing that pawn on E5. This is also possible, keeping an eye on the bishop on C5, keeping an eye on F7. You know, these side squares look kind of out of play. Here, here. No one dared to retreat their queen in any of the games. Clearly black has a pseudo threat of knight g4. I'm not sure that's even that scary, but probably best not to allow it. No one allowed it. So let's see what happened with Dolgetzer and Ritter, because they're both, you know, like senior masters. FIDE masters, senior masters. Queen F4. Defending the E5 pawn. This is like Nassau County Chess Club Championship 1991. Harold Stenzel directing. This is a game. So here's a game with a 2400 Mikhalik with black, and he lost after knight h5. Boy, knight h5 is not exactly a centralizing move. Master, that doesn't look right. Then you can go to e4, and then you're threatening to win a piece with g4. That's very concerning. Queen e4, castles, and black. What's black going to do? Like f5? Can't you play this? Like, what am I missing here? Something crazy like knight f6? Oh no, he has this. It kind of feels like you're playing for cheapos, you know? I mean, there's bishop d3. Black's position is disaster. This is a disaster. Alright, anyway. So you got to do queen e7. And now the question is, bishop e3, take knight g4. So Connie played bishop e2, and so did Nefedov. But that's not the only move, it looks like. I'm wondering if there's another option. This here, you gotta watch knight h5 always. But I mean, the main problem would be like take knight g4, and then the e5 pawn falls. We could develop more actively, but the main point is that this move forces the knight to move. So this is what happened in Dolgetzer versus Ritter. Knight h5. And now Nefedov played queen a4. Which is definitely a strange move. I mean, you're way out on the side there. So it looks like Dolgetzer played perfect moves. How did he lose? Some kind of trap? Queen e4. And now Ritter plays bishop b4. Wow. So this is like undefending the queen on e4, which means that black could theoretically move his knight back to f6, saving the knight. And he's, I know I never played Mark Ritter, but I know that he's recognized as like an expert on the Philidor. He really plays only very limited opening repertoire, and he knows it exactly. But I don't think Nefedov's move is an improvement. So after queen e4, bishop b4, bishop g5 was played. And now here, queen d4, c5, queen f4 back again, knight d5. This is really weird. And then queen d2, queen e6, rook d1, knight takes c3, b takes c, bishop a5, castles kingside, castles kingside, bishop f4, h6, bishop d3, knight b6, queen e2, and then he drops a pawn. I mean, white like slowly lost the thread here. Very, very precise defense by black. Yeah, I mean the guy, he only played very limited amount of tournaments, and protected his rating, and he was always like, he's still alive, I think. He lives in Florida or something. Okay, queen f4, queen e7, bishop e2, knight h5, and then queen a4. This looks wrong. And that's what happened. So queen g5 was best. That's not an inspiring move. Wow. So queen e4 is good. And after bishop e4, Dolgitzer should have castled. And his knight is stuck on the side of the board. Black's knight is stuck on the side of the board. How do we get it off of the side of the board? Takes, knight c5, queen e3, knight e6. I mean, isn't g4 eventually going to win a piece? It's still not going to win a piece yet. Knight d4, g6, giving him the g7 square. And then finally we take it. Damn. Okay. So white shouldn't have played bishop g5 in that game. In that fit, I was thinking this is queen a4, g6 now, weakening the dark squares. But I mean, same idea. He's trying to give his knight a square. Obviously, black is afraid of g4. And I think he has every reason to be. How else do you save that? Nefedov's queen is misplaced on a4, but it pins the knight on d7. I have a question. What about c6? You know, if you try to win a piece here with something like g4, aren't you going to come under some sort of attack, maybe? Can I do this? Takes. Check. I mean, what the hell is going on around here? Does Nefedov feel safe in this position? Phew, bro, you have to play king d1. I mean, yeah, you're probably winning, but it wouldn't be easy, and you could easily go wrong. Well, apparently black has bishop b4. Oh, no. Trapping the queen? What the hell is that? Holy shit. Talk about Philidor tricks? My god, bro. Look at this. Queen b3, bishop e6, trapping the white queen on b3. Pavel, never put your queen on a4 in the Philidor again, okay? Just don't do that again. This is called the Lion's Cave. Please don't put your queen on a4. Not unless you have the Scandinavian, like, c3, and your queen can go back on the diagonal. That was a bad judgment. Yeah, I mean, clearly, I don't see what's wrong with c4 either. Okay, this position you have knight c5. But even that's better. Alright. Here, bad. Here, bad. Here, bad. So bishop g5, f6. Bishop g5, you have the... Yeah, you have the queen e6 move. Nefedov played bishop h6, and he's clearly planning on castling queenside. What about bishop g5? You figure he'll just play f6? Queen g5 is good because it's yeah, I mean, the knight's stuck. I think the moral of the story is here. I don't know about black losing a piece, but this is all you really need to know. It's very evident that white has absolutely crushing superiority in the center. I feel like white's control of the center is just better. So, because that knight was driven over to h5, white's superiority in the center. So, with the queens on the board or not on the board, it looks like black is just clearly worse. He doesn't have superior control of any central square. White has superior control of 2 central squares. 2 of them are like even. But I mean, this is a huge hole. What are you going to do about like knight d5? Plus castles. Even if we don't win a piece, it's like white's central control is... Yeah, knight d5, exactly. Oh, you mean right away? No, I mean, no knight d5 here. The queen's hanging. We're talking about... He's asking about queen g5. Knight d5 is happening in any moment, if we can get it. After queen a4... That's why I thought black would play c6. For one thing, you know, that square is a huge hole. The biggest problem with black's position... You mean after g6? Yeah, okay. After queen a4, g6, why not knight d5? I guess he didn't like queen d8. It is a good question, man. Yeah, Nefedov really... Good question. He has a weird move, b5. No way. Well, he has another weird move, bishop f2 check. If you took it, then... No, then check here, knight e3. That's good enough. So apparently b5. b5? Bishop takes b5. Bishop f2 check. Not even talking about what happens if... Oh, so I see he gets a square for the queen here. If we don't take it, king takes, queen c5 check. And then if knight e3... kind of not believing in black's position. Yeah, it's lost. I mean, this is lost, dude. Knight d5 wins. And suddenly Nefedov's queen still has squares. Why not castle? Yeah, he's asking for b5. And now black plays knight takes e5. The queen has squares. We have e4. We should be fine. It doesn't look like g4 is that bad. He has b5, who cares? Queen e4. What's black going to do? f5? Do we have that? b5, queen e4, f5? Maybe hanging on? This seems ridiculous, but it might actually work. Although, you know, I have no idea what's going on after, like, queen takes pawn. It's a fun game. White is winning. So b5 is not going to save him. Why is g4 so bad? Oh, knight b6. Alright, knight b6. Gotta go back. And then f5? So that must be it. Knight b6, queen e4, and then f5. And that's a much better version where we're not hanging the c6 pawn. This would have saved him. Then the point is, if you take en passant, I'm just recapturing. And black lives for now. I mean, white's probably maybe still a tiny bit better for like queen takes e7. But yeah, g4 was too early, and now black sacks a piece, and knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and then queen h4 check. Here, that's understandable. That's what I suggested in the other line. But he could also just play queen takes e5. The question is, after pawn takes knight, what do we do? Where is black's compensation here? Because white's threatening to castle queen side. You don't have bishop g4. It looks like black is lost unless he has some weird way of trapping the bishop on h6 or something. So I can't blame him for queen h4 check. It's the only try. And now Nefedov plays king d2. But this may be a vast improvement on the other variation with king d1. Because king d2 means that you can move your rook out and then artificially castle with king c1. If you play king d1, you're not going to get to artificially castle and get your rook out. This looks more dangerous, but at the same time, he allows for his rook to move. Obviously, white could also play king here. So now what's black going to do? Like knight g3? Double attack? You know what's funny? No, it's not funny. What's funny? Knight e4. There's some crazy stuff that can happen. Like white playing knight e4. Sacking the rook. I don't want to know what's happening there. That looks bad for black. He plays queen d8 check. After king d2, queen back to d8 check. This is obviously hoping for a draw with king e1, queen h4 check, which is obviously not happening. That's definitely not happening. And I expected the knight retreat. Covering, a lot of squares. But this way opens up the e-file. And black still can't castle. So I guess either way is good. Black resigned after knight f6. And black's just a clear piece down with zero compensation. So that was kind of a nightmare for black. Didn't I say this the other day? Can we play back like Tuesday's stream? Nefedov wasn't here, of course. Or maybe you were for a little bit. There was an interesting Saji quote on Tuesday's stream. Does anyone remember what I said? Philidor is not a good opening for players who are like under 1800. It's extremely hard to play. Openings of that type, which are inherently like passive, surrendering your strong point in the center, you'd be much better off with a very straightforward, solid repertoire, playing like the Roy Lopez and the Tarash Queen's Gambit or something, Not a good idea for anyone under 1800 to play the Philidor. Very, very risky opening. And I think that when you see strong players like Christian Bauer or whoever, Bakro or I don't know who else plays it, like my friend Zoltan Varga. They're practically like playing it like bullfighters, where they're playing the fiddler even though it's an e4 e5 opening. It's sort of hyper modern in a way because a lot of times you trade off your central strong point at e5, and like what happened in this game, e takes d4. You've got to be like a hyper modern bullfighter to play this opening. You're like provoking the opponent to overextend themselves, and that's a very dangerous game. I mean, you have to be a very strong player. Fresh coffee ready, y'all. Y'all come back now. All right, we got Emil Skinner resubscribe for 76 months. All right. So I got games from Morales Sun Prism. Who was that from? That was Morales. Okay. I got Morales Sun Prism, Drown the Clown, Mule Skinner, and Kovalev. We could do Mule Skinner now. But, you know, I generally go in order. But Drown the Clown probably won't be here. Morales, I don't know. Morales, are you here? Say hi. What's up, guys? Happy Thursday night. Yeah, Nefedov. I would say one thing. Nefedov was a little loose. You know, felt like he underestimated his opponent a tad. But really, I guess we can only really criticize Nefedov's one move, Queen A4. Other than that, it was all pretty good. Was there anything else I didn't like? Well, Bishop H6 wasn't good. Yeah, well, I mean, okay, we made some inaccuracies. Not a bad game by Nefedov. He's clearly stronger than his opponent. And what happened was what was supposed to happen. Okay, so this is a random Spanish player playing the white side of the French. No. Well, it's D. Lopez against Mule Skinner, but it's not a French. It's not a French. It's unbelievable. It's not a French. Someone played C4. And the irony is that Mule Skinner loves the French so much, I'm surprised he doesn't play C4 E6. Like, admit it. No, you love the Grand Prix attack more than you love the French. Nefedov, thanks. I was a little surprised. Don't know if you prepare for your opponents or something. Knowing you, I mean, I've never... You know, come to think of it, I probably played the Philidor against you. But it was a weird move order. The guy did a weird move order. He did the D6 Pierce move order. I was expecting something more kind of solid from you. But, you know, you do play like the 4 pawns attack against Alyakin, so that F4 is a sharp way to play. All right. So Mule Skinner is black. His opponent plays the English, and he plays E5. Now, this is not only like black's best move, it's also not the most solid move. You know, I wouldn't recommend this for non-E4 players. It's the most principled move, the most aggressive move, but also Mule Skinner likes to play the Grand Prix attack with white against the Sicilians, so he likes to do the same thing like Morales with black. Best move for white is knight C3, but he plays instead G3. Now, I think objectively, probably best is knight F6. But this is a close Sicilian. Alright, knight C6. Knight C6 is good too. And then white plays knight C3. You played F5. White played bishop G2. You played knight F6. And now... So what did we finally decide here? Knight D5 is interesting. This move only has 5 games. Strangely. The e3 is the traditional. E3, white has to know exactly what they're doing. I don't know what you're going to do on e3. Because the gambit with d5 that I used to recommend, this has kind of been analyzed, kind of a little bit to death. I love to play d5, but, it's not a secret anymore. What other possibilities does white have? I've experimented with, like, knight h3. How bad is knight f3? It's interesting that knight f3 has the highest winning percentage for white. The idea would be e4 knight h4. Or e4 knight g5, which is it? Wow. This is a faster machine. Which stockfish am I on here? Let's put the faster, newer stockfish 17. So the computer wants to play knight g1. Rip Andras Adorian. But he knew something about chess. He was crazy. I told you guys when I had to call him once, he acted really weird on the phone. Didn't want to be real helpful. So anyway, yeah, chess players and mental illness. So yeah, I wasn't sure because this is possible too. Wow, Asterbait donated 100 bits. There's the hype train that we're talking about. Uber driver's here. Uber driver, how many personalities do you have? Speaking of chess players and having mental illness. This is also interesting. Anyway, so Muleskinner's opponent does play the traditional move. D3 is also okay. I'm a little surprised to see Stockfish 17 liking a number of weird moves here. B3. Oh. Tarjan from 2018. The Tarjan in American. He pronounces his Hungarian name in an American way. He's like the reverse of me. He purposely mispronounces his own name. And he likes it. Alright, B3. That's possible too. So let's turn the engine off. E3. So now, I've seen everything. But the D5 is a scary move. And you did it. Oh, okay, so you did it. It's not the only way for you to play, obviously. I've even seen people play like E4. Check this out. It's seen some play at higher levels. Isapianu played it. Ivanisevic played it. But it feels unprincipled. Yeah. What else? A lot of options. I mean, you can play G6, Bishop E7, D6. Alright. This is a traditional closed Sicilian. Bishop B4, I think, isn't so good here. You see the score is very bad. I mean, that's kind of playing into what white wants. You're just giving him 92, and you don't really have anything. You can try to play a reverse Grand Prix, but being a tempo down, the standard Bishop C4 Grand Prix, I think being a tempo down isn't great for black. So this D5, it's a standard idea. And now, I always tell the story how when I first saw this move, I was white, and it was like 1992, and I was playing Michael Brooks, and I was in a state of shock because I had never seen it before, and I spent like the longest I ever thought on like a move in a standard game. I refused to like make a move until like I was confident it was okay, and I was like didn't know whether to capture with the knight or the pawn. So I thought forever, and then eventually played knight takes d5. But I literally like, I started the move 6 with like, standard time control 40 and 2. So I had like 110 minutes when I got to this position, and I played knight takes d5, and I think I spent like 45, 50 minutes on one move. I was just like bugging out, trying to calculate like what the hell was going on. Um, it's still to me like not 100% clear which is better, to take with the pawn or take with the knight. I guess it was easier to calculate the knight takes because a set of pieces is being exchanged. If there's less to think about, I guess, after a knight is exchanged. I think that either move is okay, but I guess knight takes is less complicated. So black has to take, and then you have to take the c pawn, and then they play knight b4. Now, I've faced some weird moves, probably. I think someone actually played knight e2 against me. No. Although, like in Blitz, I probably had this played against me. I remember someone played d4 against me. They played d4, I played e4, and they played knight e2, and they let me like check them on d3. And I mean, white just has like kind of a bad French here. But I do know what you're supposed to do. So I found the right move after that 50 minutes. This is the best move, d3. And now, okay. So here you can play something experimental. The c6. Brooks played c6 against me. You see, there's a game where I played it against Robert Torma in 2006 with black. And that was kind of a standard game. The second oldest game in the database. But I mean, this position I had on the board with white in 1992 or 93, I don't remember. '95 at the latest. It was either 92, 93, 94, 95, someone in there. And as far as I know, it had only been played like, I'm not sure that c6 had ever been played. There might have been one or two games where this was played at all by someone, but it was in Brooks's like home analysis. So who knows where he got it from? Midwestern, chess influencers. So Queen b3, that's what I played. And that's also oddly what Robert Torma played against me. And then after knight takes d5, I think he played the right move here, right? Knight f3, bishop d6. Yeah, black played bishop b4. Anyway, it's pretty equal, I think. So you took back. This is the more standard move, and now white knows what he's doing. So that's alarming a little, because a lot of people will react like passively. They see their bishops here. They're normally putting their knight on e2. So we're hoping that white, will typically go here. But I'm afraid of knight b4. I would be a little afraid of knight b4. You have to, deal with this. So knight f3 is way better, right? Because you put pressure on e5. First thing you have to realize, this is not a problem. One of the reasons why I put my queen on b3 was to guard the b4 square. You might get people playing like a3. You can see this has been played by some strong players. It makes sense. You can play a3, but I mean, the problem is what? It's slow. So a3 is extremely slow. And black gets a solid kind of setup. Not dangerous. So only knight f3 is good, and he finds it. Your opponent knows this. That's disturbing, right? So bishop d6, castles, and now, yeah, I mean, I think I've played c6 before. Not over the board. So see, here's the original game. No. No. There's even older, sorry. Well, I mean, okay, they're relatively old games. 05, 07. My game was from the 90s. But see, Portish Sofia Polgar, 1996. That's one of the earliest games. That's not the bad Polgar. That's a good Polgar. She lives in Israel. So Portish Sofia Polgar, 1996. I don't know if there was a bad Polgar game. There's good Polgars and bad Polgars. But bishop d6, castles, queen e7. But I don't know why queen e7 before c6. We protect f7. So we got to watch this diagonal. That's my main concern. So if I just castle, that's my question. What's wrong with castling, right? The queen protects the knight. So we could just castle. Here, Mark Lyle lost. After e4, we can just go back to f6. See, here's the thing. If you take here, you improve white's pawn structure. Take. Sometimes you have to do this. But let's say take. Look at this. No wins for white. 4 games, no wins for white. Interesting. Does white have a trick here? It just occurred to me. White could try a trick with like knight g5. You just remembered the setup? Is there some sort of trick with knight g5? That looks interesting. But if you go back, you see now maybe we do have queen b3. Is this an issue? I don't want to cheat by using the engine. But there's this pin here, and white is threatening queen b3. So the point would be, if you play knight f6, queen b3 check wins the exchange, right? Here, knight f7 check, I have to give up this. Queen takes. And then we have this, so maybe there'd be some compensation. Wow, there is. I wouldn't have been sure. That pawn looks kind of overextended on d3. This is a cool variation. It's never been played. Uh-oh, it's been played on lichess. 2 games. And they're both like average rating. Oh, the same guy played it with white. That's weird. The same guy played it with white against 2 different opponents. What are the chances of that? Like, he asked his opponents to play this gambit. F2, F2. How could the same guy with white be playing both games? That's bizarre. I would see the same player with black, maybe. That's kind of a cool idea. So, interestingly enough, knight g5 is like the top move. But after knight f6, the exchange sack isn't good enough. There's some interesting stuff here. There's a novelty, d4. Who would have thunk it? Changing the structure. E takes d4, queen takes d4, queen e7, and this is really boring now. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, drawville. Alright, anyway. So knight g5 is a new move. That would be cool. But you played queen e7. The real David Navarra has a game with white. We can see in the database. That's a bad sign. Bilek István, 1997. Against Oli. E4. So E4 is the standard. And then the thing is, like, do you want to play knight f6 or pawn takes pawn? So this is really important. Check this out. If knight f6, this Bilek Varga game, the very, late, the last legs of Bilek István, I saw him in 97. He was still playing GM tournaments, but he looked very old. He was definitely like over 70. E takes f5, bishop takes f5, and now he's like famous hypermodernist. Not famous, but I mean, he was a well-known hypermodernist grandmaster from Hungary. Same generation as like Benko. He had a lot of cool ideas, like in the hyper-accelerated dragon, rook e1. He missed rook e1. So it looks like after this, black is in trouble. So if they play e4, you have to take. There's a weird line here. Now this can happen. Takes, for example, what Bilek tried to do against Varga, knight h4, and it's like a positional approach. I had some games in Blitz where this was unpleasant. This is the kind of thing that might be an issue with the queen on e7. Ultimately, if we have to play g6, we're kind of screwed. You're just going to have to live with knight f5. You're going to have to take it or something. Jan Votava won a game. So if castles, knight f5, you got to give up your bishop. Takes, and then just hunker down and try to hold a slightly worse position. Yeah, so I think, you need to look at this previous move here. Bishop d6 is good. Castles is good. And then my c6 move, e4. I guess it's just not easy to say which is better. Fe4. Oh shit. There's knight takes e5. This is the problem. Oh no, okay. So I can't take. So you're right. We're both wrong. So we're both wrong. Queen e7 and c6 are both wrong. Black should play knight f6. Interesting. So let's check this out. Notice how all these games are... Yeah, there's the Portish game. Queen b3. Queen b3, queen e7. Yeah, now we get back to a kind of normal position. e4, fe4, de4, a5. Michael Lee Emery Tate, 2008. I kind of wonder, you kind of wonder if Michael Brooks and Emery Tate, I don't know what the relationship was like, but they both lived in Indiana, and they're both strong players. So you gotta kind of wonder if they didn't somehow cross paths and share ideas. I'd have to ask, you'd have to ask Michael Brooks, but I don't even know if anyone knows where he is. So anyway, all right, it's all very interesting. White played knight d2. That's cool. Here. And now knight c4. So your opponent is playing kind of positional style. I think black is fine. And, the normal move to play here is obviously bishop c7. But you could say, well, that's kind of a bad bishop anyway, so your move is valid. And he just takes it. And that's okay. It's a closed position. He can give up. I mean, you can give up your dark square bishop. It's not easy for white to say, put the bishop on this diagonal and kill you. But I still think, like, in general, maybe bishop c7 seems better. Apparently there's a check here. Could induce some weakening in your position. So it's more compact to castle. Knight takes d6, queen takes d6, and then a3. Looks very standard. Now you played f4. You have a lot of experience playing the Grand Prix attack structures. So this move looks like an exclamation point. F4 exclamation point. The problem is, like, we're relatively simplified here. If I had your position against another player of my own strength, I would expect a lot of games to be draws. Even if I was a tiny bit better, white's still very solid here. Not a lot of pieces set up like an attack. He's almost never going to lose in like an endgame. What kind of endgames is white going to lose here? Bad bishop versus good knight somehow. If you could trade light square bishops, fix the structure somehow, and win with like strong knight versus bad bishop. Direct attack's not so easy. So what does he do? White should try to keep the tension, I would think. So my first idea here with white would be bishop d2. But, he's got to keep his eye out constantly for this. Capturing, queen c5. That's what I feel like is the best option for him, Because if you trade, you have an isolated pawn on e5 too. So he plays this move. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? That was a very surprising move by white. Now d4, he's like opening it up. But I have a major question. If you take on d4, you think e takes f4 auto capture? Dude, we're not making auto captures, okay? This stream is not about auto captures. If you want to have a bullet stream, Uber driver, go ahead. Make a bullet chess stream where you do auto stuff. This is not an auto capture. It leaves white with an isolated pawn. I don't think that's it also leaves black with a monster piece on d5 that can never be chased away. So I think there's every reason not to make e takes f4 auto capture. That's just bad chess. I'm going to have to time you out again for making bad suggestions. And if you were g takes auto capture, I would say I ban you from the stream. But this is just like inflexible thinking. It's an option, but it's not an auto capture. Not even close. I think keeping the tension looks like the most sensible thing for white to do here. So something like queen e2 or bishop d2. Black does not have f3 yet. Maybe when he's threatening that, we'll do a capture. If he were threatening f3, I'll think about it. It's definitely an option, but not an auto capture. This is kind of surprising. Now, if you take on d4, he has this. Now that could be interesting. That would be very imbalancing. Because now black has this structure. But I was going to say, if you take on d4, he takes to the queen, you have f3. And now white, I don't really know what's going on anymore. So he plays d4 and you played f takes g3. But also I think that, from black's perspective, I don't really want to release the tension here. you've also got to consider taking with the pawn. I want to remind everyone that if black takes here, white can also consider taking with the bishop. That way he'll never have a bad bishop. And I still think that white would be okay. But this move, I don't know, man. My concern is that, he's obviously going to recapture, and you could run into e4 at some point. And if you're playing to win, I think you should try to keep the tension. So, again, what's up here? Okay, this is very weird. What I'm hoping for is I get him to agree to like an isolated pawn, where maybe we are a little bit better. This is really what I'd like to see. Because maybe he'll be scared of queen takes f3. That's really messy. I don't think that looks good for white. And then this is hard to evaluate, but maybe white is just worse after c5. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Even here I can play rook d8. The important thing is that I maintain this pawn. I'm not sure though. Maybe white is better. Maybe white is better. 0.0. Very hard to evaluate. So, all right. You played f takes g3, improving white's structure. And then knight f6. Now, you're hoping to push here. But he can take on e5. He still has his bishop is still out of play. So, for example, takes, bishop d2, queen takes b2, takes. Yeah, it's not so easy for white. But he's the one who played d4 anyway. Not sure I like that move, the d4. It might have been too early. Now he plays check. Alright. And then bishop e6. And this is a very crazy moment. So, it's more ambitious to castle, but obviously bishop d2, bishop b4 looks pretty awkward. So your move is going to involve sacrificing the b7 pawn, but it's probably best. You can't play queen e6. So here, takes, and now queen takes b7. Yeah, this is dangerous for white, though. Now we look at situations where what I was talking about. If the light square bishops are traded, that's one of the only situations where black might be winning, or playing for a win. If I can trade off light square bishop and he has a bad dark square bishop. So you played bishop c4 here. Yeah, if I were white, I'd be interested in trading queens. This particular one, though, he has a really ugly structure after queen takes queen, and you're not forced to do that either. I mean, you might be playing for mate. White needs to defend really well. Yeah, the problem is, Uber Driver, he's going to play like f3, and you can never checkmate him after f3. If you move your queen to h5 or something, white plays f3. Kind of one of the reasons why I don't really like this exchange on g3. Objectively. I don't know what to do. There's no way that black should be like winning here. You know, the position should be pretty equal. I don't know. I still kind of lean toward this. Anyways, okay, this is a concession. He takes back. This makes sense. Check. Risky move. Here. Good move. Takes. Here. But now, okay, if bishop d5, f3. Queen takes g3. White is in some danger. So, what do you think about this? You played bishop c4. It might be just as good. It's possible that it's just as good. And now he moves his rook. I think that white needs to freaking seriously consider sacrificing the exchange here. The important thing to do is like sense the danger before it's too late. You know, you could easily lose here. If I could sacrifice an exchange, maybe I'm fine, you know? So let's just, for argument's sake, like this, and my queen comes back here. We're a little frozen on the king side, on the queen side. Our problem is over here, actually. Those guys aren't developed. Yeah, it's not good enough. We can't give that up. So I guess this whole thing was too dangerous. Good call by Muleskinner sacrificing the b7 pawn. This is a good move. Maybe white should even play rook d1. I don't know. He never got his dark square bishop in. And now knight g4. No, knight g4. So if rook d1... something like rook d8. d1, rook d8. Bishop d2, bishop e2. You know, we can probably like win an exchange or not. This could be a problem, this bishop c3. So let's say you did the same thing as in the game. Rook d1, knight g4, attacking f2, threatening primitive mating attacks. And then the point is on f3, you have this. But are you winning? Are we winning? Because white is down 2 pieces on the queen side, but we just sacrificed a piece. Yeah, it's winning. Bishop e2. We're winning. Alright. So this looks good. So your hero here with white his sense of danger was too late. He should try another move. What about f4? F4, queen f5 looks good. So he's in serious trouble. I guess queen b3 was just straight up bad. I don't think that white has a problem here. In fact, the engine says white is a tiny bit better. But after this move, wasting time, bishop e6 was a very good move, trading here, and then greedy, grabbing the pawn. Now you played bishop c4, and he can't afford to lose his g3 pawn, so he can't play f3, and he also can't develop his queen side. Let's develop the queen side anyway, shall we? So, can I suggest a move like bishop d2? This way, we're gonna take back with the rook. So, maybe bishop d2. I mean, what do you want white to do after queen b3 takes, queen takes? This is a horrifying position, but maybe his best chance. But it's easy if you look at the engine, Uber driver. Bishop c4. The queen has a chance to maybe enter defensively back into the game here. But this was really his Waterloo. But I still think there might be a chance to save the game. And this is it. I was right. So bishop c4 is a mistake. Black had knight g4 right away. If f3, queen takes g3. I think Uber driver pointed that out. He was looking at his engine. Good job. Knight g4, immediately threatening queen h5. Now, I would have been concerned about f3, but if you calculate this, apparently black is winning. So it looks like there's no defense to the knight g4 right away. It's easy when you look at the readout on the computer. Chess is so much easier, isn't it? That way. After queen takes b7, that wins directly. I was suggesting bishop d5, which is also good, but obviously not as good as knight g4. Here we're just clearly better. We're not like winning by force. This is the same. Black could have sacked the exchange. First of all, he has to realize this is not a major threat. What is that? So bishop there, rook e1, very materialistic move. And now here, and I guess white is lost now for sure. His last chance is getting his pieces out with bishop d2. Rook e1 is really bad. This looks fatal. And now queen b4. I'm wondering if we could... Yeah, we can't sack c4 with check. That's the problem. But this is not my favorite move. Queen b4 is a good move. That's not really good for us. He got his queen back to a good square. We cannot trade queens. Queen h5. And then f3. Alright, this should be winning. We got check and check and check. Yeah. Nice. Did he have anything after queen d4, queen h5? It's fortunate that you could retreat your bishop and still be winning after bishop e6. That's fortunate, because I think like allowing this queen b3, queen b4 thing was not really what we intended when we played bishop c4. The problem, bishop being on c4, it's unprotected with check. I got some game here from Grunfeld Addict. Well, that's very interesting. I don't know who that is. Alright, we're back now. Morales Sun Prism. Thanks, Mule Skinner. Nice to get a good win there with black. White like forgot to develop his queen side. Sun Prism Morales Sun Prism. Oh, the French. So Morales has his pet variation. The advanced variation. Knight f3, queen b6, bishop d3. Oh! No, this is something new. I thought Morales was playing some other thing with some other line with like a3 or whatever. No, that was the Caro-Kann. Okay, this is the French. Yeah. We saw an a3. This is the Johnny Hector. Takes castles. So I would imagine that all the top players are now taking a harder look at playing the black side of the French advance. But I think the problem is queen b6, honestly. If you go back, ultimately, why queen b6? You know, you're moving the queen early. Another option for black is to not play knight c6. You know, you might want to play like bishop d7 instead. And even those like a6, bishop e5, or queen b6, bishop b5 type of things. But I think definitely playing without queen b6 would be better. So knight f3 here, you could just play bishop d7. Look at black's score after bishop d3. Quite good. So I think this move is really the problem with black's setup. You're not developing your pieces again. There's the problem that black's king never reaches a safe position in these type of gambit lines. So the whole thing is like reinvented. The Milner-Barry is just seeing a new dawn because of castles, and then these positions are unpleasant for black. It doesn't matter that white's down a pawn. He has the initiative for forever. You know, so long as you're not trading queens, white's position is just easier to play. So now, bishop d7, okay. Rook e1. There are other moves. There's this here. That seems to be reasonable. Even with the bad structure like pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Even with the pawn down and isolated pawns at a2 and c3. Because black's king never finds a safe place to go. The queenside castle is never safe because of the b-file. Kingside is never safe because of the diagonal here. And the just lack of control of f6 and the space with e5. Black has to conduct the whole game without castling. You know, it's like very hard to do that. So I wouldn't want to have to play this with black. Rook e1 is the best move statistically. Knight on g to e7. We can see that rook c8 does better in a relatively limited sample of games. White's still winning like half the games either way. Yeah, rook e1. So where's the most recent game? What's the most recent game? Yakubayev, Nodirbek, another Nodirbek, the other Nodirbek. 2024, 2023 draw, 2023 draw. So black's getting some draws. I wouldn't want to defend this. So it goes back to Johnny Hector 2008 or even earlier. Now h4. And black plays h6. Well, h6 is a very typical move. I mean, you're stopping h5, h6, and stopping pieces from coming into g5. What about d takes c3? In that case, white can just take with a knight and not even like have to play with a bad structure. Though either way is okay for white. I would think like b takes c is also very hard to play this for black. h6, now h5. See, 2 games by a wonder. I wonder why he played that. Although it feels like h5 is kind of committal, you know, like you don't have to play h5. It's not like, is black threatening something? Is black threatening g5? Because if black isn't threatening anything, I think I'd rather just leave my h-pawn where it is. The flexibility is huge. Black has 0 threats. I mean, what's he going to do, like g5? You can see people play a3. I guess the plan here is b4. Vachier. So Vachier played it against Pankratov, and then Pankratov played it with white. You kind of can figure that out. Everybody's playing it. The one downside of this gambit is that everyone with black should know what they're doing, but it's so strong that it doesn't seem like there's an answer. Someone played a4. Okay, that's weird. Why would you play that? Knight a3 also kind of weird. 2012 Johnny Hector game. Alright, so knight on bd2. Oh, see, there's a game with g6. Now that's interesting. So there's a game here. Look, knight on bd2, g6. Didn't Sung Prism play... Didn't you play something like that against me? That would be the case... I guess g6 would be the case for playing h5 then. Our case for playing h5 is that it discourages movement of the g-pawn. He could still do it, though. I don't know if I had a game against Mr. Slow or some Prism, something similar here. Player, Sparklehorse is white. Nope. 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 There's one. Sparklehorse Morales. Unbelievable. Morales. Turning my own thing against me. Okay, h4, h6, h5, g5. Uh-huh. Black did that. Oh, I remember this. Yeah, I remember this now. Didn't we go over this before? H takes, knight takes, bishop takes. That's a pity. I don't really like bishop takes g6, to be honest with you guys. I mean, that's serious. That's serious donation. You know, I really, really, really don't like trading our bishop, our good bishop, for that knight on g6. I realize we'll get something, but is it worth it? I think maybe, you know, black will eventually be able to castle queenside. Can we play without doing that? Like, really? Alright. But I think after g5, you know, you're not obligated to take on g6 either. You could also play positionally, like knight h2. Isn't black kind of frozen here? What would happen if g4? Okay, bishop g7. Maybe it would be best for white to wait and play this first, with the plan of something like knight h2, castle queenside, knight h2, bishop g7, knight on df3, the idea of going here, knight f5, knight g4. Black's still like paralyzed though. As far as I'm concerned, it looks very paralyzed. This looks terrible, and the minute you do this, you can just forget about it because of the B file. So, black has a very bad bishop on d7, and white's dark square bishop is probably better than that one. You know, we have two knights against two bishops in a fixed structure. I still think that white is better. But this is kind of unbelievable now. White plays queen d3 and you don't castle queenside with black here? I'm sorry, did you move your king already? He played knight e7. Wow, okay. Okay, alright, I guess you can try it. But I mean, the whole point is that we want a castle with black. The problem with the whole variation is that oftentimes black just never castles. So alright, I was thinking of castling and sacrificing the pawn on g6. I don't think it's that bad. Is that bad? I mean, the g file could come back to haunt white. So this is, I don't know, a little bit of an optimistic move. Knight takes d4. Now white has a very strong piece here. Morales has control of e5. Knight f5. And now g4. This is a tough position. I mean, there's so many possibilities. You could even play, like, I would think you could even play bishop e3, to be honest. Because taking this pawn is extremely dangerous. Do you want to take that pawn? Seriously? Good luck with that. I don't know if I want to take that pawn. I mean, this move has to be considered. I kind of like this. It's all Gawain Jones coffeehouse lines. You're not telling me Gawain Jones is trying to take credit for this. I mean, seriously. It's clearly Johnny Hector. Gawain Jones just stole it and put it in a book or something. I mean, everybody's playing this. So, bishop e3 looks good. I mean, they all got it from an engine anyway. But Johnny Hector was playing in 2008. The computers weren't that good back then. I'll bet you that Gawain Jones did not know about this in 2008. I didn't see any Gawain Jones games. But he probably, like, you know, realized how good it is and put it in a book. I've been seeing it for a while. I like the way that Morales played this, though. It was kind of creative, you know, here. But, I mean, what about bishop e3? It's the best move. Outside, he calls it the Hector variation. That's good. That's correct. Well, I never had a problem with Gawain. He seems like a competent individual. He didn't call it the Jones variation. He knows good stuff when he sees it. Morales didn't find bishop e3. I hate g4. I have to say, I hate this move. It's so lazy, you know? Super lazy move. I have to confess, though, I didn't really see the point. So, if knight h4, we defend this. Well, Morales has some interesting ideas here as well. For example, if knight h4, bishop f4, idea bishop g3. But I still think that black's going to get the hell out of there. You know, at some point, castling queenside actually will be good. So, dude doesn't play... He played 97. Come on. I think you have two better options here. Taking and simplifying, or playing knight h4. But this is really... Come on. Sun Prism, I'm not buying into 97. And Morales just refuses to play bishop e3. I don't know what your problem is. Why does Morales hate bishop e3 so much? It looks like such a good move. Mr. Slow, what would be more appropriate to roll with the queenside pawns? Well, I mean, I'm a believer in developing my pieces. I just wanted to like develop a few minor pieces. Then I'm happy to like move the queenside pawns. But all I want to do is like just move a piece or two out, and then I'm completely okay with doing whatever you guys want to do. I'd also like to see black castle queenside before I start launching my pawns at him. But this looks awfully strong. I mean, if black takes his pawn, he's like committing suicide. So black would probably play queen a6. And then we would have to avoid the exchange of queens. We should avoid the exchange of queens. Which might be a case for your a pawn. Maybe Mr. Slow has a little point with this sort of preventing queen a6 with knight b5. No, he can still do it. It's a tough one. Okay, this isn't bad. Knight a3 isn't bad. But what's black doing? Black played rook g8. I don't know what to suggest, man, but he's in the standard situation where he can't do anything. His king is here. White owns, you know, the center, and he can't castle, and he can't finish his development. So black just, yeah, knight a b5. Wow. Can I take that? I think we should consider taking it. How bad is it? Any sort of exchange is good for me, man. I want to get out of here. Can I trade that? Take, bishop e3. This is hanging. I think even taking on b5 needs to be seriously considered. He played knight c6. And now knight d6 check. Now the dark squares are gone. Can black castle? He still doesn't castle. He takes. And white takes with the queen. Now that surprised me. But white's still better after queen trade. Shouldn't black consider this? Maybe trading queens? A little bit? Better? Queen takes d6 looks insane. So I think, yeah, this is insane. First of all, if I were Morales, I would not trade queens. Secondly, if I was black, I would definitely trade queens. Maybe I'm lost. Maybe black's lost here. I doubt it. It's not so easy. I mean, okay, black's worse, but is he lost? No. But I mean, it's irrational to not trade queens. This is insane. I mean, are you like playing for a win? What the heck is queen takes d6? What's your mentality here? Like you're up a pawn? Dude, your king is in the center, and you have no control of the dark squares. It's a miracle that white offered a trade of queens. You should just be very, very thankful that you even had a chance to trade queens. The fact that what black is up a pawn is absolutely meaningless here. I really hope he doesn't think he's like playing for a win. Because this is borderline suicide. Damn, he and even Morales shouldn't offer that trade of queens. You should definitely take with the pawn. Here, black has queen takes. And now I don't have like bishop f4. So you could take the pawn on h6, but it's a little awkward. It's a little awkward with the h-file and such. Black might actually get away. Alright, so anyway, queen takes d4. The bottom line is this is suicide. And now white's like winning after bishop f4. I would think white's winning. Queen f8. Again, very materialistic way of playing the position. Like the h6 pawn, I'm not sure how relevant that is here. Although, I'm thinking like white is probably winning no matter what. It may not be that easy. I guess if he keeps the h6 pawn, he can play g5 here. And now bishop g3. But this is obviously a very tactical situation now. Queen takes d5. Queen takes f4. That's not going to be enough. Yeah, he's basically just preparing queen takes d5. Now king f7. So I imagine it's rook e3. Black has rook g7, but then, yeah. These guys are playing too fast in this game, man. c4 is okay, but I think rook e3 is even better. There's no way that black's lasting more than a couple moves here. Ultimately, he doesn't go for rook e3, and now this, and then a really nice move, if it works, rook takes e6. And that's kind of checkmate. However, there could be some queen g7. I guess queen g7. How much resistance are we putting up here with queen g7? Oh, there's queen f4. So basically 0. Queen g7 doesn't help. Oof. So this is just over. Is it over? Is it over? Wait a second. Here. Oh, I thought it was over, but you're actually going back? So I'm not so sure it's over. Rook e1 check, or c takes d5, or both. So at this point, I don't think that bishop takes d5 is an option. I mean, we go here, and then try to defend after this. Isn't this variation great for black? So he plays c takes d5, bishop takes d5, check. Rook e1, king f7, check. And our bishop's coming to e5. Slight problem. Not to mention queen d7, check. There's queen d7, check. This is good too. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, alright. Good game, Morales. After queen takes d4, black has to trade queens. This is insane. I'm surprised black can play g5 here. That's hard to believe, but this is insane. Yeah. And now queen f8. Too much priority on material for black. Alright, next game. Clown against Fischer is dead. Is this a real game? Fischer Clown. Coffee House Clown. Not a serious player with white here. Alright, guys. How's the hype train coming? Asterbate with 100 bits. Mule Skinner resubscribing. My board isn't straight. Oh my god. Why is my board offside? My board is offsides. You're offsides. When did that happen? I must have hit it by accident. Probably tried to tell me an hour ago. Guys, we have 13 viewers, 15 viewers. Wow. Everybody likes some serious analysis. Except we have an Uber driver here who's like the least serious player. Constantly making, silly comments and detracting from the seriousness of the stream. Just devastating me. Alright. I've got... We did Nefedov, we did Aspay, we did that. We got Mule Skinner. We got Kovalev, Pragnanatha. No, not Lowell. Alright, Knight F6, Bishop G5. It's a terrible move, this Knight E4. It's like mind-numbing. Look at White's score after Bishop F4. To think like in the 90s that even I played that move and they said it was like Black's best line against the Trumpowski. Fischer is dead. Fischer's stuck in the 90s. Fischer is dead is still in the 90s. So Knight E4 is not a good move. Black has a bunch of good options. D5, C5, G6, even E6, even C6 probably. But Knight E4 just doesn't develop the pieces. You're playing Knight E4, White just goes Bishop F4, now your knight's just sitting there. What did you achieve with Knight E4? Nothing. But, lucky for Black, Drown the Clown played a crappy move. So this is much better for Black, H4. After this move, Black has a reasonable position, I think. I would strongly recommend White play Bishop F4. This is clearly White's best move. Leads to 37%, 38% overall. 38, look at White's score. 38 to 26. The line is quite pleasant for White. Bishop H4 barely has a winning score. The H4 has a winning score, but only because people don't know what they're doing. So Black should take and play G6. I think take and C5. Or C5 first. Let me remember. C5 first. C5 first. This is probably best. You could take and play G6, right? I don't think this is bad for Black either. Look at Black's score after his suggestion. D5. White has won like 42% to 24. It's like... Alright, dude. C5 is a way better move. This is way better. Definitely. And now White plays what? D5. And now we take and play G6. Or G6 right away. Black plays Queen B6. Okay, this is kind of a fancy move. Playable, I guess. Hardly any games here. So apparently this is a secret move here, knight d2. That was only discovered in 1993 by Julian Hodgson, so it's way too new for Uber Driver to have heard about it. So instead, White plays bishop c1. Well, the problem with White's position is h4. There's nothing wrong with bishop c1 in the normal lines, where you're doing like bishop g5, bishop f4. But there's something not right about playing bishop c1 with h4. This is definitely not good. You can't play f3 because he has knight g3 now. And now black has never lost a game in this position in the 6 over the board games where it's been played. So this has to be good for white. Why not just start with h4 on move 1? D6. Yeah, so d6 is like black playing, why not like knight d6 or something, you know? That looks like a good move. d6 prevents g4. What does d6 do? Wait, he wanted to cut off the queen's mobility here. So Dmitry Nils-Randman, who I can't stand, absolutely obnoxious guy, but a decent player. They played e6. Undermining white's center. Is that important? Just don't look at my belly. So this move undermines white's center. It makes a lot of sense. What are we going to do? See, the problem is you can't go here. And that's like what you would do if the pawn were back on h2. If the pawn were back on h2, white would have a great position. I can kick the knight and everything's good. But here you can't do that. So I mean, black like takes on d5, plays knight f6, and the black is better. What are you going to do after e6? There's 3 games with knight f3. There's a queen d3, a g4. That's like a joke. What is white even doing? I mean, what's the idea to play like bishop g2? That's horrific. And then someone even took on e6. That's clearly not too inspired. Yeah, this is not impressive. But black played instead maybe not as good a move here, d6. So can we... Oh my god. Can we play something sensible with white? I mean, I suppose you might have a sensible move at this point. I'm trying to find it. A4 is definitely not white's best move. But what is white supposed to do? Like, I guess knight d2. I would probably play knight d2. Yeah. It's the only move that makes sense. Knight and e4 is strong. You could try something weird, but it doesn't look right. Blauert played this in 2014. Blauert is a c3 Sicilian player. What the hell is he doing? It's a c3 Sicilian player playing the Trompowsky. Alright. I guess like c3 could be a move. Now c4, the problem is queen b4 check. I don't know if I really like that. So a4. Okay, well this is like a joke. Chess is just a joke to you. a4, and then you have an unstable knight on f5, so let's protect it with a bishop. Yeah, I don't like bishop f5 at all. He already has one piece outside the pawn chain that's not stably placed. So let's put another one outside the pawn chain. What's the idea? Like, so I can play like g4 and then we can get forked by f3. Is that Black's plan? To encourage f3 g4. a5 is possible for white, I hope. This is a horrific move. You know, maybe if you had your pawn on h5 or something, you know, I could see playing bishop f5. But it's a stupid move. Now knight d2, and then a really stupid move by Black, c4, knight e4, bishop e4. Yeah, so white effectively traded off the dangerous piece, and now, you know, white is better. Finally, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming this is like a 1-minute game. Shockingly, it's a 10-minute game. Black is a serious player. Bishop g6. I guess better to try bishop f5. He plays bishop g6. Ugh. Horrifying. Now you're threatening to win a piece. So Black should play... Are you serious about this game? What is this? Queen c5? Is that... Acerbate, like, would put this guy to shame. This is just trash. h5? Okay. Thanks for the piece. Oh, he played that. Queen c5. Defending the pawn. Oh my god. Why doesn't Black make a normal move here? With like h6 or something. At least. His position is still very, very bad, but... Okay. Tactically defending against h5. I get it. Okay. And we fall for the trick. h5 takes, rook takes, queen takes g1. I have to confess, I would have fallen for it too. The good news is Black's position is so bad that you can hang a pawn here and still maybe you're better. Rook a3, g6. Oh no. Now he has to sack his queen. Take, takes, and white is winning. Horrible. Uber Driver, your submissions make Acerbate's games look good. Knight c5, a5, knight a4, here, 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 and then here. Yeah, Black, not a serious player. And he makes white look good. Not easy to do. Alright, now, on to something more serious. So we've got Mule Skinner, we did that. This is Kovalev Prognanahad. This is move 11 submission. How dare you submit a real game to our stream? Where is move 11? Alright, this is cool though. You know, I would appreciate, like Mr. Slow submitted a Rudolph Spielman game. Move 11 submitted a game by modern grandmasters, obviously what we're about to look at now. While I do appreciate you guys sending in games, you know, crappy blitz games don't really cut it. That was a really bad game we just witnessed. Alright, so Kovalev Prognanahad. I mean, this is an old game. Look at Prognanah's rating. 2539. So... Sada Masagana. What's your account name? Is it the same? Are you Sada Masagana on lichess? Oh, you're Grunfeld Addict. Okay. So, what is that? Is that what you sent in for today? What is this? This is not Yusupov Timon. So, you're going to have to pick a game. You got to pick one or the other. I'm not going to do two. I got one from last week. The first one. Okay. So, alright. Clone. Chapter PGN. That's not what I want to do. Copy PGN. Dude, what is it doing? What is it doing, bro? I did copy PGN. What is that? What do you mean, new chapter? No, I want an empty. Editor, PGN. Alright, there. I don't know why I was being weird. Alright. Alright, so 2 real games now. Alright? How are we doing on time? Alright, this is the end. Last 2 games for today. No more, hey, just subscribe, that one. Alright. The first one is Kovalev Pragnanadha. From our founder, Move 11. Now, this is an old game because Pragnanadha's rating was 2539. So I would say this game was probably played about 3 years ago. It's even more. 2019, okay. So I first met Pragnanadha in 2017. That makes sense. Okay, so he was like 2,400 in 2017. He was 2,500 in 2019. It adds up. Okay. So we've got Kovalev, Pragnanadha, e4, c5. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, and now g6. The Rosalimo is good. A good line for white. I think maybe the best anti-Sicilian. But black's best options are really e6 and g6. So Pragnanadha plays g6. I mean, his opponent, Kovalev, is a very strong grandmaster from Belarusia. I guess he's still in Belarusia, I'm not sure. It's not quite as bad as living in Russia. Alright, g6, bishop takes c6. So white takes right away. You know, this is interesting. If you look at statistics, this move has the best score. But I don't know, you know. I don't know if it's better to castle or play bishop takes c6. It depends on your style, I guess. So bishop takes c6. Now black can take back either way. It's more ambitious to take back with the b pawn. I would think. Keeping the island, you know, all in one big snake. This is a little bit more solid, taking with the d pawn. Sometimes black might even threaten to trade the bishop back. Although that would trade back, you know, your compensation. And why am I getting another game? What is that? Simplicity is fun. Whose simplicity is fun? So b takes c, more aggressive, and now white plays d4. So see, this is like competing chess principles, right? You've got an open position. I mean, you're opening the position, but black has the 2 bishops. Generally speaking, you don't like give up your light square bishop and then open the game. But you've got two principles competing against each other. On the one hand, the bishop pair likes an open position. On the other hand, black is underdeveloped, so white should be opening the position. So the question is, like, who's right? You know, should white be opening the position with d4? Most players don't do this. You know, you can see it's much more common to castle. So we give up our light square bishop and then open the position. Now black has a choice here between bishop g7 and take. And it looks like they're close. one thing is like black. It might be tempting to put your bishop on a6. I think that white could possibly castle queenside. Let's just take a look at that for a second. If black plays bishop a6, d takes c5. Black has scored okay here. D takes c5. I don't know if black has to win this pawn back or not, but queen a5 check, knight on bd2. Queen takes c5. Oh no, they go here. Look at this. Black hasn't lost a single game. And Abasov is notable. He's quite a strong player. Very theoretically, well prepared in the Sicilian, especially. Although that's not a new game from 2017. And Yakovenko, haven't heard much of him lately against Paravian. So a lot of draws. Black, that's actually interesting. Bishop a6 may not be so bad. Now I'm kind of curious about this. Bishop a6, engine. D takes c5. Yeah, that's the engine's top line. Well, it kind of makes sense, I'm not a big fan of this d4. Alright, so black plays c takes d4. White takes back with the queen. And then black plays f6. And the problem is, if you play knight f6, e5, knight d5, e6 is not the problem. This is not a problem. See, here you're going to get to one of those accelerated dragon types of scenarios where white just traded off his own center, and he doesn't really have anything. What was that? Kuzi just followed. Kuzi? Alright. Did you guys? New movies coming out and stuff? Did you hear the one about... What did Spartacus say when the lion ate his wife? Masturbate? Masturbate, are you there? What did Spartacus say when the lion ate his wife? No spoilers. He was glad he ate her. Alright. Sorry about that. I couldn't resist telling it on stream. F6. Castles. D6. So build the wall. This seems to be best. Yeah, so you got the airplane. It's a Boeing. The Boeing structure. Don't know why Move 11 chose this particular game, Kovalev Pragnanatha. But I have to say that the line looks okay for black. C4. Marazzi, right? And now C5. So there's a lever here. If you don't play C5, maybe white will. That's a serious issue. So C5. Now we have a problem with the D5 square. This looks best. So how do we handle this airplane structure for black? Knight h6. I looked at this a long time ago, but I don't think I was going to play c5 actually. I don't remember. Maybe I looked at something different. Well, anyway, I didn't memorize the lines that much. It seems okay. C4, C5, Queen D3, Bishop G7, Knight C3, and now Knight H6. And now Knight H4. This is pretty deep. So Knight H4 introduces a new idea of playing F4, F5. Or just F4 and E5, or F4 anything. F4, F5, or F4 and E5. How do you crack the snake? How do you shoot down this Boeing 747? Not easy to do. Black has a better structure, the bigger island. So, he also has, if you ever play B3, Black has A5, A4. So Black is better in a sense from the strategical pawn structure side. Pop Gabor unable to beat a 2240. That's not good. And now Black played Rook B8, which is following one other game. No, this is new at the time. Rook B8. So if he castles, he loses a rook. Alright, check. We see that. But the real question is, why not Knight F7? Why does Prague not like Knight F7? We're obviously going to see F4. How does a 2200 draw 2600? Not so easy. F4, Bishop B7, F5. Oh no, someone's been very well trained. Anne Maria Much. Nice draw. Drawing someone like 400 points higher. So Knight H4, RB8. White played B3 in both games, so why not F4? So this begs the question, why not F4? If F4, F5 is the problem, why didn't White play F4? After Knight F7, White played F4. But here Black might have F5. I mean, is that the point? If you play F4, do I have F5? And then what the hell is happening if, like, E5 or something? Apparently, Black is better after F5. So this is huge. It looks like Rook B8 is kind of important, By not playing Knight F7, we don't want to end up like Pop Gabor, like drawing 2200s. That's bad. I don't like this, dude. After Bishop E7, F5, it's really easy for White to play this position. No wonder he couldn't beat a 2200. That's another game that might be correspondence. I don't know. What's this? Oof, perfect game. Homie's on the Hans. Orasco 60 años GM. Osasco 60 años GM. Some kind of GM tournament in Brazil. But I have never heard of these players. So anyway, that's newer. But it looks like this has already been invented. So Rook B8 is improvement by Pragnanatha, by not delaying. So now B3, and then castles. So the point is you don't pull your knight back to F7 unless you have to. That makes perfect sense. And so Garcia Pantoja recently played Bishop takes H6. And that looks playable, but nothing special. So Kovalev plays Rook E1. Yeah, and then Rook E1 is a little bit weird because, like, you're playing F4, you're normally playing with a rook behind the F pawn. So now black plays knight f7. We play f4. And he still has f5. Because we're tied down to c3 here. So we take. Do we have to take? We don't have to take. We kind of have to take, though, don't we? You could play bishop e2. But this is a little bit worrisome here. So it's better to take. And then black takes with a pawn. And now here, and now the smile. And computer doesn't like e6. It prefers bishop d4 check. Here, here, and then here. So our airplane has been converted into a smile. But black is incredibly solid in this position. Really model game by black. And now a neat move. White is almost 2,700, and he looks kind of stupid right now. After bishop e4, looks like black is sort of taking over. Nice move. Queen d2, and then d5. Yeah, this is absolutely a model game for black. Although I don't know what to suggest here with white. It looks like white is in a difficult position. Black's starting to kind of overrun in the center. There's even, I don't know, even knight d6 maybe. White has to be careful. I mean, black could even decide to take on c4. So what are you supposed to do? Like cave and trade? Yeah. The computer wants to take on d5, but man, I mean, this is getting a little scary now. You know, it looks like we're losing our grip in the center. This scary pawn at d5. So he goes here, goes for exchanges, and then d4. Sack the exchange. I feel like I saw this game before somewhere when I was looking at Rossimos. It's a good try. He gets a pawn for the exchange and a blockade. And he was able to draw the young Prognanata. e5. Take, that's 2 pawns. And then knight d3. Beautiful blockade for Kovalev here. I mean, 2 pawns and a knight for a rook in a pretty closed position. This looks okay. Only question, like, can black play like knight d6? Can somebody answer me this question? Are we sacking a second exchange now after knight d6? Is that what's going on here? Maybe white's sacking a second exchange. So seriously, if knight d6, what do we do? You can't, like, retreat your rook, can you, and allow this? I'm not really down with that, I don't think. So, are you serious? Like, I have to sack another exchange? Rook takes e5, bishop takes e5, and then maybe, like, knight takes. Knight f5, knight takes d4, queen c5. I don't know what to do. This is pretty scary, bro. Imagine this. You're, like, down. You're black. You're up 2 exchanges. 2 exchanges for 4 pawns. I think I'll take white in this position. Damn. That's really scary. So, neat position. Anyway, he plays queen f5. Yeah, if knight d6... Yeah, rook takes e5. Rook takes e5, clear advantage. Second exchange, sack. He doesn't allow that. Here. Queen e2. Now he does it. Oh my god, it happened anyway. Just with a queen exchange. Rook e5, bishop e5. Or no queen exchange. I was expecting white to take back here with a knight. I don't know why. It looks like d4 is falling. I mean, what would happen in an endgame like this? Well, there's also a check here. This looks extremely scary. Rook e5, bishop e5, and then f e5. And now queen e4. King f2. And then the break on the queen side. Normal move, try to break up the queen side. So it's, again, 2 exchanges for 4 pawns. Queen e2, knight e2. Really wild position. Objectively, the practical chances are probably with white. But, you know, you're down 2 exchanges. Black is definitely happy to get the queens off the board, because he was getting mated with the queens on the board. And now what? G4. Yeah, I mean, the Grandmaster here got the initiative. I mean, I guess Prognon might have been a GM by 2019, I don't remember, but he's not the favorite in this game. So white has the initiative, 4 pawns for 2 exchanges, and or 4 pawns and 2 pieces for 2 rooks. And now he makes a very natural looking move, which turns out to be a blunder. Wow. Here. The wrong knight to e6. It looks like if this, his other knight can pull back to d4. I mean, I would anticipate black playing like there. But he goes this way. What happens? So his knights become like tied together. So now they're like redundant and tied together. King e3, h6, king d4, knight g6, king d5, king f7, and then white wins the exchange back with knight d8 check. Takes, rook takes, king takes. So white has 4 pawns for the exchange. But Prognadenda's rook is pretty active, so he can get in and start picking stuff off. This falls as well. 3 pawns for the exchange. And now 2 pawns for the exchange. Apparently he should have penetrated with a rook. That's more active. He took this instead. And now white is time pressure. White is better after bishop c1. But I mean, dude, this is a hard position to play. Keep an eye on the h6. Black could win here, you know. All he has to do is pick off the h2 pawn, queen is h pawn, and white is too slow. So this is a hard move to see. He played knight b7, rook d2, h3. I mean, I know this Grandmaster Kovalev doesn't want to lose to a prodigy. Bishop c1, rook a2, bishop h6. And white is relieved to take that pawn. But now it's a draw, probably. This looks like it's pretty simplified. It's a total draw now. Yeah, that was a wild game. Thanks, Move 11. Very interesting. Should be able to sack. He should be able to sack a piece here for the last, you know, the last pawns. Notice how Prog doesn't move his pawns. There you go. White could theoretically win. He's not, you know, he's not giving him a draw. Game is a draw. All right. So our last game is this one, Yusupov Timan from Sada Masagana. It's a Slav. So Timan, I don't know when this is from, 89. Timan plays black. Yusupov plays an exchange Slav. Knight c3, knight c6, bishop f4. Oh, okay. Right. So if you play knight f3, black plays knight f6, and then you play bishop f4, you can avoid this, I guess. This is a weird gambit. Bishop f4, e5. I don't know. It looks like statistically d takes is better. There's also the Winnower counter gambit, which is better known. How would that go? In the semi-Slav here, black could play e5. Now these type of lines, like take, d4. But something similar. So this is interesting. Okay, so this game is from 1989. It's in there, but you can see that looks like it's been played quite a bit. You know, I don't like the Slav exchange, so I wouldn't be caught dead on either side of this position. But it's a interesting move. Like, I think for black to try to create some counterplay, maybe. Though objectively, winning against the exchange Slav is like pretty difficult, dude. So he takes with the bishop. Yusupov takes with the bishop, giving up his dark square bishop. This is kind of scary, though. Look at black's score. I mean, are we going to miss that dark square bishop? I like my dark square bishop. Can we not do that? Maybe take with the pawn? Taking with the pawn is safer. Now we're missing our dark square bishop. Take, d4. And now, you know, what are we going to do about the dark squares for the rest of the game? The rest of the game, our dark squares are kind of weak. So 9 games with bishop b4 check, and white has never won a single game. Another reason not to play the exchange Slav with white. If we needed another one, remind me not to play the exchange Slav. d4. Queen a5 check is always bad, but black played queen b6. So this was first played in this game. It was later repeated in Ulf Andersson's game. Ulf managed to win with white. But it looks like maybe queen b6 isn't too good. It's a tempting move, right? Someone even played queen d5. Louis Roos losing with white. Yeah, I mean, this is straight out of the Winnower gambit sort of stuff. Here, greedy, and now rook b1. So Ulf Andersson would later win this position with white against Lars Bohansen, who's a strong player. But you can take with the queen, and in bishop b4 check, what do you do? Move the king? Yeah, you can just move the king. Problem is that black can avoid trading queens, which is a little bit weird. Check. Whatever Ulf does. So ultimately, maybe this is important. This is safer. Now we don't have to move our king or anything crazy. If Ulf played it, okay. So rook b1, bishop b4 check, knight e d2. Now we'd like to play like g3, bishop g2, and get out of there. But black plays bishop takes d2 check. And now the problem is we can't take with the queen, so we have to take with the knight. And now black plays queen takes a2. So now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So white is down a pawn. Neither side really has a lot of development. And unfortunately, g3, the tempting move, you know, g3. could run into queen d5. And then we have to play like knight f3. And I guess queen a5 check at the very least. Would force a trade of queens. Well, I don't know how good this is for black. You would think like black would be fine with two connected outside pawns, but he has like no development. So white actually still retains like a Rubinstein-esque kind of micro advantage here. That's interesting. G3, what's the problem with G3? Queen d5, knight f3. Okay, so you shouldn't screw around with queen a5 check. Black should just develop with knight e7. Alright, then it's like equal. Yeah, I've never seen this line. Bishop takes d2 check, knight takes, queen a2, e3. Now we have a check on b5, so that's very dangerous. Black's going to play king f8, I presume. Wow. So Ulf would later play bishop e5 check and go on to win against Lars Bohansen in 1992. And this is really obvious move. I mean, black can't possibly consider playing bishop d7, right? You could play king e7, but that's dangerous as well. You know, king e7, knight c4, queen f2 mate. If king e7, white's probably going to take anyway. I guess f8 is safer, plus your knight has a square. But Ulf would go on to win that game. This doesn't look as dynamic. One would assume this is a sort of threat, even to the point where black could consider playing like a6, but I think bishop c4 is too strong. So he has to stop that. He allows rook takes b7 or bishop e5 check or whatever, but he stops bishop c4 and he stops the attack against f7. You know, this is probably like a candidates match or something. Who knows? Oh, it was played in Linares. Okay. I guess there could have been a match in Linares, but it's probably from the main Linares tournament, which was the biggest round robin in the world at that time. So bishop e6, white grabs this pawn, rook d8 pinning us, queen c1 unpinning, and now black has problems completing their development. And the thing is, if you put the knight on e7, you become like kind of responsible for keeping that knight protected, I guess. Why else would black play g6 here? He plays g6 so he can walk his king manually over to f8 and g7 without putting the knight on e7. If you move the knight e7, you're going to have to move it a second time. What's the problem with knight e7? Obvious move. You're still not threatening the castle. But what can white do about it? Bishop e5 check. Alright. So if bishop e5 check's a problem, then okay, this makes sense. Now obviously if bishop e5 check, king f8, that's our plan anyway. White plays queen c3, black plays king f8, white plays bishop d3, black plays rook c8. And white plays queen b4 check, and black plays king g7. So the black king is safe. White's extra pawn isn't very relevant. You know, what about white's king? White's king is safe too. And so it's not an extra pawn. I mean, it's 4 pawns each. Black has an a pawn. An a pawn bomb. Knight h6. Tippmann was very strong. I mean, he was third in the world around this time. At some point, you know, I believe. Stronger than Yusupov, definitely. Yusupov was strong too, but I don't think he was like top 3 or even top 4. Although he did play in the candidates matches as well. Knight h6. Wow, this is a hell of a knight on d6. This is a good game. White sacks the exchange. My god, there's like 4 attackers. How many attackers on b7? So Yusupov really went for it. Sacking an exchange, rook b8, and then the queen is protecting. That's a very beautiful game. Queen e7, rook f8, and now check here, attack the knight here, check, king there, attack the knight, and draw. Yeah, I mean, I would think like the game would be very low mistakes. You could do a computer side analysis on this, but I really don't think there's going to be a lot of major mistakes in this game. No, it looks like it's very tight. Yusupov sacked an exchange, but it looks sound. But that's a decent line for black. But it kind of makes you ask the question, like, is black playing for a win or what? You know, with the c5. It doesn't matter too much. Because, frankly, like, I don't think a lot of people are going to play bishop f4. Looks like another question would be like black's move order. Why play knight c6 first? Maybe that allows white to play e4, something funky. I think this would be slightly more common. Yeah, but it's interesting. If white plays e4, that's a dangerous sort of gambit. You know, so it can go either way. Yeah, it's interesting. All right, guys, I gotta go. We'll see you on tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Perfect game by Artur Yusupov. Draw. Chess is a draw. I know that's exciting. Thank you for submitting your games today. I'll see you all, or some of you, tomorrow. Asturbate, maybe not. You never come on Friday morning streams. No problem. Otherwise, Sunday simul, usual time. See you guys then. Thanks for your support and your donations, especially Mr. Chainsaw Massacre with $30 donation earlier. We're up to 156. Summer tourney fun. Thanks, everybody. Keep subscribing. I'll see you Friday and Sunday. Bye-bye.